Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto has a black chakra part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. You think that'll keep me in line, Yondaime? The blonde man nodded. Yeah, I think I will. He was smiling, ignoring the intense pain burning deep within his body. It felt as if his veins were burning from the inside out, his intestines trying to escape from his mouth through his stomach, and it felt as if his fingernails were trying to dig into his hands. A single drop of blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. The man stood in front of his newborn child, his hands outstretched in front of his chest, channeling chakra into the technique that would seal the demon into his own child and orchestrate his own death. But that didn't matter to him. All he cared about was saving his village. The demon thrashed, trying, in vain, to escape from the threshold of the technique. But both he and the Yondaime knew it was a futile gesture. The Yondaime knew he had him and did not even move to intervene. The beast struggled, its head refusing to go into the newborn's stomach. He roared at the blonde, trying to gather up the last of its strength to somehow do something. Minato just channeled more chakra into the technique. Then the Kyuubi laughed. You forgot something, Yondaime, the Kyuubi muttered. Every other host before him died. What makes him different from them? The nine-tailed beast laughed, its eyes bulging and its tongue lashing out to taste the air before it was sealed for years. I'll kill him just like them. He's no different from them. I'll kill him. I'll devour him alive. I'll tempt him with power and control. Power to destroy. Power to rule. Power to take anything he wants. Geez, you're kind of being dramatic here, don't you think so? The demon narrowed his eyes. No one turns down power. The demon continued. Power rules this world. From power comes conflict, fights, battles, and wars. Power is the beginning, and it is the end. You are a fool, the demon spat. To think that your fresh-born will be any different. Your kid will fall to temptation just like the others. He will fall. He will fall into the black abyss, and I'll take him. I'll take him like I took the others. When I take him, I'll tell him it was his own damned father who sealed me within him. The Yondaime grimaced. He won't fall. He's the son of Awakens Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. He's the son of two of the greatest shinobi that Konoha has ever produced. He is our son and he'll know right from wrong. He snarled, revealing an anger uncharacteristic of him. My son will win against your temptations and your trickeries. He will not fall into your abyss or offers of power. He will fight against this world using his own strength, and nothing else. And you, Kyuubi, will die when he dies knowing that he will have resisted you for a lifetime. That is what is left for you, Kyuubi, death and a lifetime spent in a cage. A lifetime of a human is nothing to me, mortal. The demon retorted. I've seen how Jinchurikis are treated, even I wouldn't wish that upon my own kids. You are a cruel man and your son will hate you for it. He will damn you for every waking second of his life, cursing his own father. He will crave the strength to destroy those who mock and shun him. Then he'll unleash me and laugh at the ruins. Minato smiled. Not from Konoha, he whispered. Not from Konoha. The Kyuubi was sucked into Naruto, but not before having his last words. You're wrong, humans are the same, Yondaime. Fire country, water country, lightning country, they are all the same. They are the cruelest and the most evil creatures to ever roam this world. And you've just sentenced your son to a cursed life of a human sacrifice, Minato. Remember that. Minato heard the Kyuubi's last words and took them to heart. He couldn't even retort anything anymore. The Kyuubi was gone and wouldn't hear anything. The Yondaime released his technique and walked towards his son, his steps unsteady. He almost tripped a dozen times. Normally he would have used his trademark technique to appear at his son's side in an instant, but it wasn't possible. Minato was dying and that kind of technique would ruin his body. Each step sent another fresh wave of pain throughout his body, but there was something more important than resting. A small voice inside of him began to whisper, promising relief from pain if only he just lied down and closed his eyes for a split second. But Minato had heard this voice millions of times before, while in the midst of battle. But like always, and as most men of character that are sentenced to the destiny of a Kage does, Minato ignored the voice and refused to give in. He simply took one step after another, focusing on not falling. For if he fell, that would be the end as he knew it. After what seemed like hours, which were actually grueling minutes, Minato kneeled in front of his son. His son, Namikaze Naruto, was in a small crib. The crib was at the center of a ring of complex seals that only the Yondaime could understand. He glanced to the left and saw the dead body of his wife, Uzumaki Kushina, her vibrant red hair now only a dull shade of brown. She had suffered a lot when the Kyuubi was literally ripped out of her, and Minato had been surprised that she had lasted as long as she did. He smiled, a mixture of sadness at her death and being proud of her for living the life of a true shinobi. But the love he held for her was raging within him. He glanced at the village. He reached out a hand to stroke Naruto's cheek. "Hey little guy," Minato whispered, trying not to wake his son. "I'll be going after your mom in a few, so listen up. Remember to eat your vegetables. Your mom hated vegetables, but I'm sure she would have been the Hokage instead of me if she ate vegetables. I wanted to teach you how to throw your first kunai and teach you your first jutsu, but I guess that's out of the picture now." He pointed towards the village. "Why, you're the same age as Fugaka's kid's second kid, I mean. Itachi's a very gentle child. He'll take care of you. Also Kakashi, he's been getting too hooked on naughty books lately. He tried to stay away from him." Minato jerked, caught in a violent coughing fit. He began to see a swarm of shinobi rushing towards him from the distance. "And make lots of friends, Naruto." Minato felt something fall from his eyes. He didn't check to see if it was blood or tears. It didn't matter at this point. His voice turned softer. "I know," Minato's voice was softer than it had ever been in his entire life. "I know you'll be cursed at. You'll be beaten, choked, kicked while on the floor, and people will hate you as long as you live. You'll go to sleep alone, in bruises, in the cold, and in dumpsters. Our house will be seized or burnt down. People have short memories, Naruto, and fear is the biggest driving force for people to kill one of their own. I have no illusions about how people will treat you. I know I've damned you, my own son, to a cursed life," continued Minato. Then he emphasized each word. "No one," said Minato, "and I mean no one, will ever love you. But I also know that if anyone can overcome it, it'll be you. I was hoping your mom will survive and you'll at least have someone who loved you." But Minato smiled, leaning on the crib. "That boat sailed. Goodbye, Naruto. And even if no one loves you, remember, I love you, son." And that's how they found their hero. The yellow flash of Konoha, the fourth Hokage, the hero of the village, hailed as the strongest shinobi to be ever produced in the history of Konohagakure no Sato. The one who ended the Third War and the Kyuubi invasion. The one who had saved them all. And the father to the demon. They found him dead. But the smile of victory still clung to his lips. And that's how Naruto's life began. "Naruto, are you ever early for class?" Sorry." The blonde looked at his teacher. His teacher's face was clearly facing the blackboard and he had a chalk in his hand. From Naruto's viewpoint, the only thing that he could see was Irika's short ponytail and the chunin vest that he wore. He saw the back of his tan neck and that was it. Naruto squinted, believing for just a split second, only a second, that there must be eyes on the back of his teacher's head. But he found none and found himself strangely relieved. Irika sighed and turned around facing the unruly blonde. The blonde was wearing a black hoodie and dark navy blue jeans. He had the hoodie over his head, making him seem unruly. His hair had grown out a lot over time, almost reaching the boy's neck. People didn't take kindly to the boy. Last time Naruto had tried to cut his own hair, he ended up having to cut everything off. Ever since then, the blonde grew his hair out. His eyes were hidden by his bangs and further by the hood. He saw the boy's body get smaller, almost into a ball, when his gaze fell on him. Naruto put his hands in his pockets and hunched his back, trying to make himself smaller. He even bent his legs as if he was expecting a blow. He lowered his gaze, not making eye contact. If there was anyone who was as good at turning invisible and showing submission than Uzumaki Naruto, he had not found who it was yet. "Just go to your seat, Naruto," Irika snapped. "And don't be late next time." "Thanks, Irika-sensei." Naruto began to go up the stairs to the back of the classroom, in a hurry to escape the attention of his fellow students. Someone stuck out a leg, tripping the blonde. Naruto's chin hit the edge of the stairs and the blonde saw stars in his vision. But then wasn't it? His chin slid off of the floor after the initial impact, and as his face fell, his nose clipped the corner of the step as well, and this time Naruto heard an audible crack. If Naruto was not used to getting beat, he would have screamed. Instead, Naruto clutched his nose with his hand to stem the flowing tide of blood. He turned to look whose leg it was. Uchiha Sasuke. With that damn smirk on his face. Some of the kids in the class laughed while others simply looked, uninterested or interested, with mild humor. The ones who were laughing were either girls who were in love with the guy who liked to have a duck's ass on his head or the boys who were Sasuke's little cronies. The ones who were watching with mild interest were the other most likely to succeed as ninja candidates, Kiba, Shikamaru, Chuji to name a few. Oops. Sasuke muttered, staring at the blackboard. My bad. Then he smirked. My foot was there first, you know. Naruto had to stop himself from throwing himself at the boy. The last time he had thrown himself at Sasuke, he had literally gotten his ass handed to him. It wasn't because Sasuke was a better fighter or anything, it was simply because whenever they fought, Sasuke's cronies or a girl from the crowd was always against him. They threw rocks, pushed Naruto, or tripped him when they could. It was never a fight. But it didn't stop Sasuke from gloating about the fight afterwards. Not to mention, once word got to the higher-ups, as Naruto liked to call them, he was always reprimanded. No allowance, no rent, no food for 2 weeks. It was hell. Naruto controlled himself and forced himself to his feet, continuing to walk up the stairs. Coward! Sasuke whispered, just loud enough for everyone to hear. Another ripple of laughter and giggles perpetrated the classroom. Sasuke-kun, someone, whom Naruto knew as Sakura, said in a bare whisper. You're pretty cool. Shaking with anger, Naruto climbed the stairs. Naruto sat down in his seat, all the way in the back of class. He was right behind Shikamaru and Chuji. Next to them sat Kiba and Hinata along with Shino. Hinata turned around to catch a glance of Naruto. She squeaked and turned back. His blue eyes shone with eerie light through the shadow of his hood and his blonde hair. But that wasn't what scared her. The sheer hatred and the anger contained within had startled the girl. She had a feeling it wasn't directed at Sasuke either. Kiba peeked at the girl. Akamaru yawned from his foot, and the genin reached down to scratch the dog's ears. Akamaru gave a playful nip to his fingers, but Kiba ignored it. He quickly looked away when Hinata squeaked and turned around to look at the board once more. He turned the other way to hide his blush. He had a crush on Hinata starting last week. It happened when he had a sparring match with Sasuke. He had lost, but only barely. He knew it was because they weren't allowed to use ninjutsu, but it had still stung his pride. Afterwards, Hinata had come and gave him some ointment. After that, Kiba literally had hearts in his eyes. And he was starting to develop a dislike for the blonde whom Hinata had an obvious crush on. Naruto released his nose, knowing that the bleeding had already stopped. He sighed and used his sleeve to wipe the rest of the blood from his face. It was one of the reasons that he wore black, that no matter how much blood got on his clothes and no matter how long he went without washing it, it was always the same color, black. He looked at the blackboard, quickly losing interest in what his sensei was writing and talking about. He looked outside the window, seeing a different class, seeing younger kids scream and run around. Then Iruka said something that caught Naruto's attention. Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura. Iruka said. Team 7. Your sensei will be here in a moment. Iruka smiled at the class. It was great being in a class with you guys. It was my pleasure teaching you guys, one of the most talented individuals that I had the privilege of fostering. Not all of you may pass the genin test that your individual teachers will impose, and even fewer will go on to become chunin, and only a handful will ever attain the rank of jounin. But it is my belief that every single one of you in this room has the will and ability to do so. Iruka's smile faded, but the fire in his eyes did not go out. It is up to you and only you, on whether you become a shinobi that is both powerful and respectable. Goodbye everyone, and remember, Iruka concluded, that the next time we meet as equals. With those final words, Iruka left the room, which quickly escalated into excited talks and gossip. Naruto watched from the back as the kids began to move seats to seat with their team members. Iruka had explained how important it was to be on the same team. They were now partners and family. They were to entrust their lives to each other in life or death types of missions. They would eat together, train together, and in a sense, live life together. Iruka had hammered it into their brains how important the bonds between their genin teams were. A lot of genin teams eventually became chunin teams and even worked together as jounins, since it was shinobi procedure to work in teams. But Naruto found himself reluctant to walk to where Sasuke sat and Sakura fawned. Go over there right now! A voice yelled in his ear. Naruto growled and jerked away, covering an ear. He found the popular girl of the class, a blonde just like him, Ino Yamanaka, standing right next to him, her arms folded over her chest with a seriously pissed-off expression. What do you care? Naruto snapped. He was getting pissed off. First he was late to class, then he was humiliated in front of the entire class by Sasuke, and now he was getting yelled at by this blonde. I do not want to leave Sasuke-kun alone with that pink-haired slut. Ino reached out with a hand to grab the front of Naruto's shirt. The blonde slapped it away. None of my business, Yamanaka. He turned back to watch the window. Ino rubbed her sore wrist. Oh, no need to get so physical, loser. She muttered and went back to where Shikamaru and Chuji were. Naruto glared after her, retreating back for a split second before turning his gaze to where the Uchiha and the Haruno sat. The situation had not changed from before. The pink-haired Kunoichi was still trying, though in vain, with the Uchiha. Naruto scoffed. They didn't have to wait long for the captains of various teams began to come. First to come was this pretty-looking lady who took Kiba, Hinata and Shino. She spoke in a clipped manner that made Naruto immediately think of her as a strict teacher. She also had an air of no disrespect and foul play allowed in her presence. The next to come was this bearded man calling himself Asuma. He had an atmosphere of wisdom and confidence that Naruto found reassuring. But he wasn't Team 7's teacher, instead he took Shikamaru, Chuji and Ino. As they left the room, the blonde girl shot Naruto a quick look of resentment which he ignored. Soon, only Sasuke, Sakura and Naruto remained in the room. Sasuke-kun, what do you think our sensei will be like? Sakura asked him with a smile. Sasuke looked at her for a second before deciding to look at something else. Sakura pouted and began to storm her brain for a new topic to please her crush, something for which they could talk for hours. As she was pouting, Sakura crossed her arms and looked around the room for something to talk about and spotted the blonde sitting in the back, looking out the window of the classroom. She looked back and forth between Naruto and Sasuke, seeing that they had the same look and the same posture while looking out the window. She couldn't help it. She giggled. Hey Naruto, she called out, elated by the new discovery. Why don't you come sit over here? Naruto turned, alerted that Sakura had said his name. He raised a single eyebrow, something which he found that not a lot of people could do. What? Said Naruto. He had, in truth, heard correctly, but he was sure that he had fallen asleep or had been falling asleep. The blonde couldn't believe that his newly found teammates had asked him to sit next to her. Come on, coaxed the pink-haired Kunoichi. It'll be awkward for the whole time if you don't at least talk to us. I know you're a quiet guy, but… Shut up. Naruto snarled. We're willing to talk with you and what? Sakura widened her eyes at the sudden release of anger from the blonde. I said shut up. Naruto narrowed his eyes. I don't consort with bullies or their little consorts. He ignored Sakura's gasp at his use of the word consort. I don't have any intention of playing buddy-buddy with the Uchiha, nor you Haruno. So stop trying to be my friend or pretending to be my teammate. The world is a cold and small place, no room for things like friends. He smiled. That way there's no room for backstabbing and heartache later on. Which you will suffer when the Uchiha finally speaks his mind and dumps you. Dumb bitch. Naruto added mentally but turned his face the other way and ignored the quickly whirling pools of tears in Sakura's eyes. No need to be such a jerk about it, she said to him and looked at Sasuke. Sasuke ignored everything that Naruto had said to her. He glanced at her and Sakura found the thing that she found every single time she looked at his eyes, but this time it hurt her, possibly due to the combination of Naruto's words and the cold indifference in them. Sasuke also had indifference. Sakura quietly took a few steps away from Sasuke and sat down a couple of seats away from him. She covered her face with her arms and lay down on the desk, pretending to sleep. But Naruto could tell from the way that her shoulders shook that she was crying. He sighed. He regretted saying those things. But Naruto had a bad experience with the Haruno. She and Ino were the most loyal ones to Sasuke. Sure, she had just extended the hand of friendship for the duration, but Naruto wasn't going to allow himself to be lulled into a false sense of camaraderie and friendship with the pink-haired girl. As soon as he did, when he and Sasuke argued, she would only take the Uchiha's side and he'd end up getting his feelings hurt. Besides, her parents were really mean to him anyways. The mood in the room was definitely colder and more awkward than before. Hatake Kakashi took that moment to stick his head in the door. Ah, Kakashi muttered. Naruto observed him. While the other ones held an air of authority and power, this one radiated it. Power, that is. The man held himself, completely confident, bordering on arrogance, of his own strength and self-worth. The man's single eye, the other one was covered by a height, held an air of boredom, but Naruto saw right underneath it. The man was kind of excited to see the three? Sasuke most likely, in getting the honor to teach the last Uchiha. No, his look wasn't really aimed at Sasuke. The man was most likely just excited to teach. Either way, the man had a strong sense of duty and purpose that Naruto only found in the Hokage. The man was strong. Of that Naruto was sure. Come meet me on the roof. Kakashi smiled at them and stuck his head back out the door, deciding to take the stairs instead. Naruto, what's with those cold, calculating eyes? Well, we'll see. The three got out of their seats. Sasuke left the door first, sparing a glance at Sakura, who had painfully obvious puffy eyes. She sniffed once and looked at Naruto as he came down the stairs in the center of the classroom. Naruto looked back at her before leaving the classroom door. Sakura sniffed once more and stood up, following her fellow genin out of the door. They found Kakashi sitting on the roof, patiently waiting for them. He was reading an orange book which he held with one hand, the other supporting the weight of his head by holding his chin. He didn't really look up when they came through the doors, his single eye moving left to right slowly. Sasuke sat down to the right of him, and Naruto to the left. Kakashi calmly observed this, unknown to the two. Sakura came through the door and Kakashi saw the girl hesitate for a single second before sitting next to Naruto, which shocked the blonde. Naruto was spying the cover of Kakashi's book. There was the number 18 in bold red ink within a big circle and a large slash going across it diagonally. Naruto knew what type of book their teacher was reading. He saw a lot of people reading it, mostly men, and once he had been pelted with it. He had read enough of it to know that it wasn't a book for kids, hence the red number 18. Naruto looked into his teacher's eyes, hoping to see disinterest in the book's content, that their teacher was only using it as a smokescreen from them. No, his eyes were completely absorbed and they were almost bulging. Our sensei's a pervert, Naruto mentally exclaimed. Great. Kakashi slammed the book shut, which shocked Naruto out of his musings. Now, can we do a round of self-introductions? He smiled at them from beneath the mask. How about name, likes, dislikes, and hobby? Future dreams? He smiled, his single eye turning into an upside-down U. All those good stuff. There was silence. Kakashi nodded Sasuke's indifference towards his teammates. He glanced at Naruto, whose eyes showed nothing but chilling anger. It was different than Sasuke's anger. Both were angry to be sure, but where Sasuke's was a hot boiling anger at the world around him, Naruto's was a chilling madness that lay deep beneath the surface. Sasuke's was like a volcano that was about to erupt. But Naruto's was a deep frozen lake, and Kakashi didn't know how deep it was. He looked at Sakura's puffy eyes. He felt bad for the girl that would have to play mediator between the two for the years to come. Kakashi looked into the air. "Oh Kami," he said out loud, hoping to diffuse the mood and lift his own spirits in the process. "Why did you curse me like this?" Sasuke's head snapped to the white-haired man's face like a hawk locking onto a mouse. Kakashi stared right back and Sasuke broke it off first, looking down. Naruto looked at Kakashi like he was studying an interesting specimen, one eyebrow raised. Kakashi already found that single eyebrow raised to be annoying. Sakura giggled a bit. At least one person's a bit normal, Kakashi thought. Would you like to go first, Naruto? The blonde blinked. Kakashi was staring at Sakura. She's obviously Sakura. Naruto piped up. It was just a joke, said Kakashi. Geesh, trying to lighten the mood. Come on guys, lighten up. So would you like to go first, Sakura? Sakura nodded. I'm Haruno Sakura. I like being a shinobi, I guess. Kakashi and Naruto caught the glance that she shot towards the Uchiha. Something he did pissed her off. Kakashi looked at Sasuke. Oh, just wait till she gets stronger, Sasuke, you'll regret crossing her. I dislike stupid people, I guess. Or loners. This time she shot a quick glance at Naruto. Oh, Naruto helped him. Wow, teamwork in the wrong direction already. My dream is to, she hung her head. I don't really have a dream. Sasuke? Sasuke glared daggers at the older man, but it didn't work. He sighed and began. Name's Uchiha Sasuke. I like nothing. I dislike being weak or weakness of any kind. My hobby is training. My dream is to, Sasuke hesitated. I have no dream. I have an ambition. What's your ambition, Sasuke-kun? Sakura asked despite herself. That's the first time Sasuke had revealed so much about himself. Sasuke glared at her, and this time it worked. Kakashi calmly looked at Naruto. Sakura followed, and even Sasuke turned his head, curious as to what the dead last of his class would say. Name's Uzumaki Naruto. The blonde began. He shrugged. I like strength. I dislike bullies. My dream, he smirked. My dream is to become Hokage and change this village. Change this village? Kakashi repeated with a frown. Naruto nodded. Change this village. What do you mean? Sakura asked, genuinely curious. We can get to the details later, Kakashi interjected. But I regret to inform you that you guys are not genin yet. Sasuke and Naruto's heads snapped to attention, their backs suddenly straight. Ah, thought Kakashi. I finally have your full attention. Kakashi cleared his throat and continued speaking. Tomorrow, at 10 o'clock sharp, I will test you all three on the requirements to be a genin. He locked eyes with each of them, putting emphasis into his words to make them take his next words seriously. If you fail, you fail. Not only do you fail, you are kicked out of the ninja program. Mark my words, in my 5 years of teaching, not one team has passed my test. Sakura gulped. Sasuke looked pissed off and Naruto simply looked mildly surprised. I'm already finding this to be a repetitive pattern. Kakashi's sweat dropped. I hate patterns. He whispered. What? Sakura asked, her eyes already full of fear. Nothing. Kakashi tried to smile reassuringly, but Sakura just looked more scared. See you guys tomorrow then. With those words as his farewell, the one-eyed shinobi puffed into smoke, disappearing from existence. The three were left alone once again. Guys, Sakura told them. We have to do something or we're going to fail. That guy's crazy. I don't care. Sasuke made a motion as to get up. I'll pass on my own power. You two can fail for all I care. Naruto's foot bumped into the Uchiha's chest, forcing him to sit back down. Sasuke's temper flared up and he looked right at Naruto, his eyes wide and absolutely livid with fury. Naruto stared right back, his hood still over his head and his blue eyes chilling Sasuke's fire with a coldness that shone right through his bangs. Sit down, Uchiha, Naruto spat the name like a curse. I don't want to work together with you any more than you want to with me, but this is serious. Our opponent is a jounin. He didn't say anything about the test, Sasuke growled. We don't even know how he's going to. He will. Sakura interjected, her voice sure. I'm sure of it. The way he said he's going to test us, we're going to have to work together. Sasuke took a sharp intake of breath, then exhaled. So what? You want us to start devising team jutsus or something right now? Get real, the test is tomorrow. I'm leaving. He tried to stand again. Naruto's foot forced him back onto his butt again, rougher than before. Sasuke rushed forward, taking out 2 kunais in the blink of an eye. Before Sakura knew what was going on, Sasuke had both kunais right next to Naruto's neck on either side. He had his teeth bared in a snarl, his eyes on fire. On the other side, Naruto sat coolly, leaning back, his foot on Sasuke's chest and one arm in his hoodie pocket. The other one was holding a kunai, its point right on Sasuke's Adam's apple. Naruto smiled as Sasuke snarled audibly. Do it, Uchiha, Naruto whispered. I assure you it won't end like last time. Sasuke leaned forward. He felt the kunai stab a bit deeper into his Adam's apple. Naruto smirked. Sasuke backed off just as fast as he had rushed forward. He crossed his arms and sat down on his chair again. Count yourself lucky, Uzumaki, we have a test together tomorrow. He inserted both kunai into his holster near his butt. Naruto played with the kunai, spinning it around in his palm, not by the ring on its handle but by the handle itself, and then put it back on the holster on his thigh. Then he turned his gaze back to Sakura. What do you propose? It was a statement, now a question. What? Sakura asked in shock. Why, you're asking me? Naruto sighed and rolled his eyes. I'm not going to listen to what he says and he's not going to listen to what I say. He pointed in her direction. You're the only one who can order us around. Sakura nodded, seeing the logic in his words. But mark my words, Pinky, Naruto whispered. If you make stupid plans, I'm going solo. Sakura gulped. Okay, she closed her eyes and mentally cheered herself on. So I'm pretty sure this plan will work for every type of test unless he pits us against each other. So here's the plan. Kakashi showed up at the training ground. He saw Sasuke leaning on a tree, looking as cool as ever. Naruto was sitting on a rock nearby, staring at the approaching jounin. Sakura was pacing back and forth. Whether it was from nervousness or excitement, Kakashi couldn't tell. Perhaps it was both, but the jounin cast the thoughts aside. You're 3 hours late. Sakura screeched at him, her hands on either side of her, clenched into fists. How are you 3 hours late? You said 10. Sorry, Kakashi smiled. I had to help an old lady across the street. Sasuke got to his feet and so did Naruto. A look passed between them which made Kakashi raise his eyebrows. It wasn't a look of hostility or anger. It was a look of mutual agreement, something resigned. The look that passed between them had no pride contained to speak of. They had agreed upon something together, and they were going to respect it. They had cast aside their personal feelings and decided to work together for the good of all. Kakashi was impressed. Then his eyes hardened. He hated that. That wasn't friendship at all. That was what shinobis did when they couldn't stand the sight of each other. It was professionalism at its best. They would abandon each other at the slightest sign of danger. Kakashi hated them at that moment. The three stood across from Kakashi. Naruto closed his eyes and pictured the clearing once more. There were trees to the left side of them, a heavy greenery that resembled a mini forest of sorts, perfect for hiding and putting traps unseen. On the right side there was a large lake with a long plain with a couple of tree stumps. The lake was pretty deep in the center as Naruto had swam in it frequently to wash himself of the dirt on his body when he had no home. It was at least 15 feet deep in the center. Kakashi took out 2 bells from his pocket. Do you know what the test is? Sakura took in a sharp intake of breath. I only have 2 bells, he clipped them to his waist. Only the 2 genins able to take these from me will pass. His eyes turned flat. The one will fail. She looked at both of them. The plan dictated that the 3 work together. But now there were only 2 people able to pass. That changed things. Sasuke and Naruto hated each other already. If it meant helping the other one succeed, they might not do it. The pink-haired Kunoichi looked into their eyes for any signs of change or relief. Instead, she only found hard determination. Except, she noted, Sasuke's eyes had wavered for a slight second. Naruto found her staring at him and nodded, sending a mental message. She looked at Sasuke and the Uchiha did the same. Sakura sighed in relief. Then shall we begin? With those words, Sasuke and Sakura leaped for the tree on the left side, hiding themselves, leaving only Naruto against Kakashi. Someone needs to be a distraction. Sakura glanced at Naruto and Sasuke. To draw his initial attention. He needs to struggle like crazy and get him off guard or something. Naruto nodded. I'll do it. Then an arrogant smile graced his face. Don't be surprised if I defeat him. Not going after them? Kakashi was reading the book in his hand. Naruto shrugged. We play by different rules. You overestimate yourself, grasshopper. Kakashi did not take his eyes off of the book. Naruto sprang into action. He rushed the Jounin, skipping the space across them in a split second. Kakashi's single eye widened for a split second, impressed but quickly turned emotionless again. Naruto spun once, launching a sideways kick which Kakashi batted away with his hand. Naruto then leaned into Kakashi, punching 3 times with each hand in quick succession. The Jounin batted each strike away with his hand, never taking his eyes off of the book. Naruto raised a single eyebrow, quickly thinking. One hand, eh? He thought. Then what about this? He punched with both hands. Kakashi bent low to the ground, both of his legs going behind him. He thrust out his arm in front of him, bent at the elbow as if it was in a cast. One fist struck Kakashi's elbow while the other struck the back of Kakashi's own fist. Kakashi smiled beneath his mask. Pretty creative. Naruto's foot spun from the side, arcing downwards towards Kakashi's face in an axe kick. Kakashi quickly backed away with his face, dodging it by millimeters. He actually felt the air from Naruto's kick brushed by his nose. Kakashi's eye widened once more in shock this time. He had seen Naruto's simultaneous punch thinking that it was creative. Obviously Kakashi couldn't block both of Naruto's punches with one hand, but he had. Naruto apparently had thought ahead as far as this, adding a kick into the equation. If Kakashi didn't have a blind spot and was less used to detecting these types of things, that kick would have landed. But Uzumaki Naruto's attack did not end there. The bend of Naruto's knee caught on Kakashi's arm, which was used to block the 2 punches. Kakashi's eyes widened. Naruto brought down Kakashi's arm with his leg thrusting himself forward. Sasuke and Sakura took a deep breath in shock. The orange book landed on the ground. Naruto smirked. Kakashi's arm that had blocked the initial strike had been brought down by Naruto's leg. He could have tried to block Naruto's strike with the first arm, but he had a feeling that the blonde would have immediately adapted and done something else to cancel Kakashi's block. So Kakashi did the only thing reasonable, which was to drop his book and use that arm to block Naruto's headbutt. So they stood there, Kakashi with his arm on Naruto's height, blocking his headbutt, and Naruto standing there, leaning on Kakashi using only his forehead. What kind of unorthodox fighting style is this? Kakashi glanced at his book, which lay on the ground a couple of feet away. This is more like street fighting than the standard academy taijutsu. What's up with this kid? Naruto backed up a couple of steps, taking long skipping steps. He rubbed his hide with his hand. I was 100% sure he was going to at least take one hit. He glanced at the orange book lying on the ground a couple of feet away, feeling a fierce feeling of satisfaction well up within him. Okay, one more go. Then Naruto rushed Kakashi once more. Kakashi readied himself. Naruto turned his body at the last second, skidding along the ground, his right shoulder facing Kakashi. He lashed out with a kick towards Kakashi's chest. The man batted aside. Naruto followed up by leaning in and stepping forward with the same leg, throwing a punch with each arm in succession. Kakashi batted those away as well with his palms, each time hitting Naruto's wrist. Then Naruto spun using his front leg, his leg coming from behind to strike Kakashi. Kakashi grabbed Naruto's ankle. Who taught you how to fight, Naruto? Asked Kakashi, his eyes serious for once. What Naruto was displaying was a taijutsu skill beyond genin level, close to higher chonin and possibly even low jounin. If Naruto knew how to channel chakra into his strikes or even had greater physical strength, Kakashi was pretty sure he'd be having a lot harder time. The blonde didn't answer. He flipped backwards, his other leg coming dangerously close to Kakashi's chin. The jounin released the genin, who somersaulted backwards, landing with his feet on either side of him and one hand on the ground. Kakashi had blocked the kick by crossing his arms in front of him. Naruto found that he was breathing hard. He narrowed his eyes. Naruto? Sakura asked, her eyes full of concern. Are you sure you can distract him by yourself? This is an important part of our plan. We can distract him together. Naruto shook his head. I can do it myself. Sasuke glared at him. You better keep your word, Dobe. Naruto's head locked onto Sasuke, facing him eye to eye. Sasuke flinched in shock at the sudden movement but managed to remain still. I always keep my word. Naruto opened his eyes, noticing that he had closed them while reminiscing. Kakashi had not moved while Naruto had been. Remember. The blonde berated himself mentally for his mistake, and as if on cue Kakashi voiced this as well. If this was a real battle, Kakashi began. Naruto lowered his body to the ground, getting ready to rush his teacher once more. Kakashi readied himself. Naruto kicked off of the ground, sending himself hurtling towards the white-haired jounin. He always starts off with a kick, thought Kakashi, staring at the blonde genin approach him with surprising speed. He readied his arm, preparing to block. I'll grab it. Naruto was right in front of Kakashi, and he did not slow down at all. Naruto began to turn sideways, seemingly in slow motion to Kakashi, preparing to kick. Kakashi reached out with an arm to block Naruto's foot. Then Naruto ducked underneath it. Kakashi's eye widened. That kick was a feint. His plan was to make me try to block him and create a blind spot by going underneath my arm. The bend of Naruto's knee wrapped around Kakashi's arm. Naruto used that arm as leverage, bringing him body up towards Kakashi, fist raised. Kakashi used his other arm to block the punch. Then, instead of punching as Kakashi thought Naruto was doing, Naruto opened his fist and locked grips with Kakashi, a wicked grin on his face. Then he brought up his other leg and put the bend of his knee on Kakashi's neck. Naruto still had one arm free. Naruto lurched his body backwards, his hands going for the bells on Kakashi's waist. The jounin jerked his hips backwards, keeping his torso in the same place. Naruto felt the bells touch his fingertips and bit back a curse. Now! Sasuke and Sakura leaped out of the clearing. Katan, Gokaku no Jutsu. Fire release, great fireball technique. Sasuke formed hand seals from behind Kakashi and put a hand to his mouth and blew. From his mouth came an orb of fire, about 8 feet in diameter, heading towards Naruto, who was tangled with Kakashi. Kakashi felt the heat approaching his back. He tried to move his hands to form hand seals only to realize that one hand was locked in grips with Naruto, and his forearm was in between Naruto's thigh and calves. Kakashi looked into the blonde's blue eyes. Naruto's hood had fallen off while he had jumped on Kakashi, revealing a long mane of blonde hair. His bangs were off of his forehead, being swept backwards from the wind caused by the heat of Sasuke's technique. His blue eyes stared straight into Kakashi's black. Kakashi rapidly pumped chakra into his legs, feeling the back of his chonin vest becoming hotter by the second. Then he jumped upwards, releasing the chakra he had been building up in his legs. He struggled once more to try and get Naruto off of him, but it was too late. They were in midair. And the blonde flashed him a wicked smile. Shit. The blonde jerked backwards once more, his remaining hand trying to grab the bells on Kakashi's waist. Kakashi freaked out and sent his hips backwards once more, getting the bells out of Naruto's reach. But the damage had been done. Kakashi had no footing, and by jerking his hips back he had messed up his sense of balance. Kakashi felt his torso, already overburdened with Naruto's weight, fall forward and his body beginning to spin towards the ground. Naruto kept straining, trying to reach the bells. Kakashi couldn't move his hips back any further. I've underestimated them, Kakashi thought with shock as Naruto's fingers brushed the silver bells again and again. Damn it, what's going on? Then he felt his body become heavier again. And he felt the bells being snapped off of his waist. Kakashi looked down with surprise to see Sakura hanging on to Naruto's single remaining hand, locking grips with the blonde with the bells in her other hand. Kakashi had realized what had happened. Naruto had remained to lock grips with Kakashi and disable him in either way. Even if he was a jounin, Naruto knew that Kakashi had to form hand seals. Kakashi had underestimated Naruto in thinking that his taijutsu would be enough to handle the blonde. If it was a real battle, Kakashi could have killed Naruto numerous times. Naruto had no chance of killing Kakashi or defeating him, but that wasn't the point. Naruto didn't even need to get the bells in this case because that wasn't his mission. Naruto only needed to occupy Kakashi long enough to disable at least one arm, preventing him from using ninjutsu or genjutsu of any kind. Then it was Sasuke's turn to use a ninjutsu powerful enough that would make Kakashi evade it, not block it. It was the perfect type of role for Sasuke, who was proficient at fire jutsus. Kakashi couldn't block fire with his bare hands no matter how much chakra he poured into his body. Also, Naruto had used Kakashi's sense of responsibility against him. Kakashi couldn't just protect himself and leave Naruto to burn, he needed to find a way to save both Naruto and himself. In that case, Naruto had almost forced Kakashi to jump. While in midair, Naruto jerked backwards, forcing Kakashi to lose his balance. Kakashi's body tumbled into a roll, sending him into a panic. It wasn't really panic for himself, he'd fallen from higher places before, but the fact that Naruto was falling head first had scared Kakashi for a second. That and the fact that they were spinning while in mid-air had created numerous blind spots, not that Kakashi was paying attention to anything else. Then it was Sakura's turn. There was no way she could grab the bell while they were spinning in mid-air like that. Sakura simply did not possess the ninja prowess necessary for that type of task. So Naruto had used his spare hand to grab Sakura, stabilizing her and allowing her to grab the bells. Then Kakashi felt his arm and neck being freed from Naruto's legs. Kakashi flipped in the air once before landing on the ground on both feet with casual dexterity. Naruto and Sakura landed a few feet away from him. Naruto landed heavily on both feet, creating a small cloud of dust around him in every direction. Sakura landed much more gracefully. Kakashi looked at them, his eyes wide. So Naruto smirked. We pass? Sakura leaped for joy and attempted to give Naruto a high five. Naruto ignored the girl as Sasuke joined them. Kakashi shook his head. He had underestimated these genin and paid dearly for it. No. He had paid dearly for underestimating Uzumaki Naruto. He had never dreamed that he'd have lost the bells. That was an amateur mistake and something he'd never live down if it got to the ears of the other shinobi. That was okay. He just had to make the other jounin see how special and unique his students were. He smiled at them. You pass. You will start to report here for training and missions. I'm glad to have you as a team. Kakashi turned around and heard Sakura squeal with joy. He didn't mention that there were only 2 bells. Both Naruto and Sasuke knew that. He had seen the look that passed between them. Sakura was the one who held the bells. Naruto and Sasuke had been ready to fight each other to get the bell from Sakura. Kakashi didn't want to ruin a perfectly good day. He could teach them all about friendship and loyalty later. They had the time after all. Kakashi looked at the sky as he walked away, worrying about the deep darkness that lay within Sasuke. And even darker and deadlier still, something that scared him, the darkness that lay within Naruto. Naruto groaned and spun sideways in his bed, slamming his fist on the alarm clock that was next to his bed. The blonde debated getting up or not, then decided that he couldn't mess up his first mission with his new team. Naruto threw his blanket off of himself and rubbed his eyes, getting a bit of his blonde hair out of the way. He sat up, putting his foot on the floor and looking around at his room. The window had been smashed long time ago by a stray rock. It was only stray because it had been aimed at Naruto, and it had missed the blonde, had gone through it. The broken glass was still scattered about the floor. The blonde stare moved from the window to his door, which was attached to the doorway only by its bottom hinge. That had happened when he was 8. Some drunkards broke in and had trashed his door in the process. Luckily they were drunk and did not bother to check the closet where Naruto hid, shivering in terror, as only a terrified child could. Naruto wasn't a child anymore. Living in terror every day had changed the boy. Somewhere along the way he decided that he wasn't going to take their shit anymore. He wasn't going to be simply beaten, trampled, cursed and spat on anymore. Naruto had made a promise to himself to become powerful to protect himself. Ever since he turned 10 he stopped hiding. The people came in looking for him and attempting to trash his stuff, and they found him standing right there. Naruto fought as only a child could, biting, scratching and slapping. It didn't work very well. For the first couple of months Naruto was always bitten to a pulp and spat, cursed and pissed at before the invaders left. That happened every single day. Until one day Naruto won. After fighting each and every single day, Naruto, who was already gifted with talents of a shinobi, was getting better at taijutsu. Not to mention he had access to kunai shuriken, something that most civilians did not bother to buy. He didn't stick to the standard taijutsu that was taught to him by the academy. It was an useless art. The taijutsu that Naruto used was quick, dirty and most of all, powerful. Naruto wasn't above grabbing some sand or glass off of the floor and throwing it in someone's eyes. His fights were life and death. There was no room for honor when survival was concerned. This was a point of contention between him and Kakashi. Kakashi strongly disapproved of Naruto's fighting methods. The blonde fought dirty and was persistent like a dog. He simply did not know when he was bitten. Even when beaten to the floor, Naruto would get up, his inhumane stamina kicking in, and attack the person from the back. From a strictly shinobi standpoint it was admirable and almost encouraged. But not from Konoha. Konoha shinobi were proud, and this pride stemmed from the fact that they all followed an honor code of sorts. They fought honorably and valued things such as friendship, loyalty, and kindness. When Kakashi tried to explain this to the blonde after beating him to a pulp in a training exercise, Naruto had simply cursed and threw sand in his eye, kicking him in the groin. Kakashi was caught completely by surprise, and this shocked even the Uchiha and Sakura. Kakashi's hands immediately went to his eye and then to his groin. While Kakashi was falling, Naruto stepped on his foot. Kakashi lashed out with a fist that sent the blonde flying and unconscious. Kakashi wasn't a bad man, hardly. But Naruto wouldn't understand that it wasn't characteristic of Konoha ninja to fight in that way. Naruto couldn't get it through his head, terms of honor and friendship. The blonde told Kakashi that nothing mattered as long as he won in the end. To the Jounin it was the greatest insult he could receive. It was the fourth Hokage, who was his teacher and the blonde's father, whom had worked his whole life to make Konoha this way. Now his own son was dismissing it as foolishness, adopting a doctrine similar to the bloody mist of the old, or some other lesser crueler villages. The Jounin couldn't exactly pin this on the blonde's personality, and yell at him for this either. It was simply the blonde's nature, a combination of his natural savagery and his upbringing. The blonde put on his shoes, black sneakers that he had received from the Sandaime upon his graduation as a genin. Naruto looked into the cracked mirror in his bathroom. His body was riddled with scars all over. He also knew for a fact that his back was covered in scars as well. He looked at his reflection in the mirror, remembering taking his shirt off of his teammates. Sakura gasped softly. Naruto turned around, glancing at her for a brief moment before seeing shock in her eyes, not admiration. He had thought that she was just happy that Sasuke took off his shirt in her presence, or that she was shocked that the boys were taking off their clothes. But the shock, the horror in her eyes combined with the fact that when her green eyes met his cerulean blue, she looked away in fear. Sakura couldn't believe the amount of scars on Naruto's back. Also, when Naruto had turned his face to look at her for a brief moment, she had seen an equal amount of scars, if not more, on his chest and stomach. There were cuts, rips and even burned scars mixed on his back. She knew what type of scars they were because it was standard academy rule to teach what type of wounds caused what types of scars. If Sakura wasn't wrong, Naruto had a scar of every type on his back. Sasuke peered from the corner of his eyes, shocked at the amount of scars on his teammate's body. They weren't like the scars on his hands, which were from endless amounts of training. The scars on Naruto's body was different. They were not calluses from training or scars caused by razor-sharp ninja tools. The scars on his body were caused by blunt objects like sticks, blades such as pitchforks, kitchen knives, or even shovels. Most of his scars consisted of burns and rips. Rips from skidding along the floor, being slammed into walls and being hit with sticks. Burns from fire, from being hit with frying pans hot with fire and... "What are you two looking at?" Naruto snarled. Sasuke couldn't even bring up strength to argue. He simply looked away. Sakura just had her mouth covered. Kakashi watched this with his arms crossed in front of him. Naruto, something in his tone, made the blonde look at Kakashi. Calm down. Naruto turned back to the log in front of him. Kakashi was teaching them how to channel chakra into their fists, and kicks which would strengthen it. They had been at it for hours. Until one of them was able to even create a crack in it, no one would be able to leave. Sasuke and Naruto had gotten so soaked in sweat that the two had decided to take their shirts off. Naruto, more self-conscious of his body than ever before, closed his eyes and channeled his chakra into his right foot. He felt a warm sensation start to go down his foot, tingling from his thighs to the tips of his toes. Naruto had gotten to this point before, but the trick was keeping the chakra in the foot and strengthening his muscles and not lose it as he moved it. Naruto thought of all the times he had been beaten and cursed at and spat on. He channeled that anger, feeling something dark take form within him. He imagined all the faces, all the voices, all the curses and all the smell as he was chased through dark alleys. When he was afraid to go to sleep because every night drunkards would come in and beat him. When they would say bad things about his dead parents. When they whispered things to him, calling him things like monster, demon, or freak. Naruto channeled all those things. Kakashi frowned. Sasuke and Sakura were back to their own tasks, ignoring Naruto, who was staying completely still. So they missed the thing that Kakashi was looking at. Naruto's right foot was glowing with chakra. Black chakra. With a yell, Naruto turned on his foot, bringing down his heel on the log in front of him in an axe kick. The log had a diameter of at least 5 feet. Thankfully, it wasn't much taller than 3 or 4. It was a training exercise that Kakashi had seen his rival, Mato Guy, do often in the past. Guy would beat it over and over until he could obliterate it with a single strike. This was actually done by Guy when he was a Chunin. It wasn't possible for genin, unless they were geniuses or possessed monstrous amounts of chakra for physical strength, to break it as Guy had. Kakashi didn't expect his students to break it at all. He expected a crack in it at most, but was expecting nothing. He just wanted to strengthen his students and for them to get the concept of moving chakra in their body. But Uzumaki had obliterated it with a single strike, sending pieces of it flying in 4 directions. Naruto was breathing hard and Kakashi blinked, wondering if the black chakra had simply been in his imagination. The blonde was clutching his leg, glaring at nothing. Sakura stared in shock and Sasuke in shock as well. Then grimacing, Sasuke went back to hitting the log. Naruto looked at Kakashi. Can I go home now? Kakashi nodded. Everyone's dismissed. Sakura collapsed from where she stood, lying down. They had been at this for the last 6 hours, seeing the sunset, and now training in total darkness. Kakashi smiled. Don't worry, we'll do this again tomorrow. Naruto wasn't listening. He simply put his shirt on, hiding the scars from sight again. I'll be going then. With those words, Naruto left the clearing. Sasuke picked up his clothing and left as well as Sakura, who was pretty much the only polite one in the whole team. Kakashi began to walk home. So in the end, Naruto was the one to do it. Sarutobi was working on some paperwork, his face down. In actuality, he wasn't signing things. He had an edition of the latest Ika tactics hidden beneath the pile of papers. While someone from the other side of the desk would see Sarutobi smiling with age and wisdom, content with life as a man of his age should be, those who knew him better saw it as a perverted grin. Even this was taken care of as Sarutobi kept his hat tilting forward just a bit to hide his face in shadow so that whoever would come in wouldn't see his grin. He was taking no chances. There was a knock at his door. The Sandaime sighed. He had been expecting this. Come in. The Jounin who walked in had been, true to Sarutobi's guess, Hatake Kakashi. Kakashi was a talented shinobi and newly appointed teacher of Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura and Uzumaki Naruto. Sarutobi had debated putting the Uchiha and the Uzumaki on the same team. The decision had fallen to him to plan the teams. He didn't want to put Naruto with a bunch of talentless whelps who would most likely drop out, but neither did he want to place Naruto near others like the Hyuga or the Aburames. Finally, the Hokage had decided to put Naruto with Uchiha and Haruno. A lot of other people had opinions about this, preaching words at him like security risk, time bomb, or safety threat to the precious Uchiha. There was a simple reason for placing Naruto with the Uchiha and Hyuga. All 3 of them were alone. With the Uchiha massacre a couple of years ago, Sasuke was the sole heir and member of the Uchiha clan. Haruno Sakura came from a clan that wasn't really known for their shinobi prowess. Sakura was an outcast because she was the first one of her family to become a shinobi. Uzumaki Naruto was alone because, well, he was alone because the whole village was against him. So he put them together hoping that the three would form bonds that were more than simply teammates. If he knew how much Kakashi would be disappointed in Naruto and Sasuke, he would not have put them together like that. His son, Asuma, had commented on a very drunk Kakashi talking about a very specific something being a disgrace to the fourth Hokage. Luckily, the bar's only other occupants were shinobi who already had information that Naruto was Minato's son. Anyways, the sensei to the three was standing right across from him. And Sarutobi had a feeling he knew what Kakashi wanted to ask of him. Hokage-sama, Kakashi began. I found something wrong with Naruto's chakra. It's a side effect of the Kyuubi. Sarutobi didn't bother beating around the bush. His chakra has been tainted by demonic chakra. He peered at Kakashi from underneath his mask, gauging Kakashi's reaction. To his credit, Kakashi didn't show anything in his face. But Sarutobi had spent his lifetime as a ninja. It didn't matter how strong Kakashi had become or how much he'd grown. Sarutobi was still levels above Kakashi, and he could read him like a book. Sarutobi had spent the better part of his life in politics, working with people who wore smiles like clothing and changed expressions like they changed underwear. If he couldn't read a jounin in his late 20s, Sarutobi shouldn't even be Hokage. Kakashi was curious and agitated. Ask away, Sarutobi waved his hand at the jounin. I'll answer you as best as I could. Then he stapled his fingers, putting his elbows on the table before him. Then he leaned forward. But even I don't know the full effects of the Kyuubi's influence on Naruto's chakra system. What does it mean? Kakashi sputtered. Is it demonic chakra? I don't know, the Hokage answered. However, what I do know is that it's more potent and dense than regular chakra. You mean? Chakra is used to manipulate the elements fire, water, earth, lightning, and wind. There's more if one has a special type of chakra that's able to mix and match these elements. But there's something that no one's chakra, even the bijus, have been able to do, explained the Sandaime. Physical manifestation of the chakra. And there's only one bija that's been able to do it. The Kyuubi, whispered Kakashi. Imagine Kakashi, Sarutobi's voice had gained a dangerous undertone. He wasn't simply facing this as the Hokage anymore. He was called the professor for a reason. He was both fascinated and scared of what this new chakra of Naruto's was capable of. His chakra is capable of physical manifestation by itself, and it is not lessened by anything. Sure, people could enforce steel, earth, and even their bodies with chakra, but his chakra. It's like a Kage Bunshin technique, Kakashi muttered. Only possible because of the fox within Naruto, the Sandaime muttered. He looked at Kakashi, reading the man once more. Kakashi seemed to be thinking. I'll be taking my leave then, Hokage-sama, Kakashi said quietly. Kakashi turned to leave. Kakashi, Sarutobi turned back to reading Ika tactics, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. He was thinking of the blonde now. He's a good kid, Kakashi, take care of him. Something dangerous entered his voice. Understood? Understood, Hokage-sama. Kakashi came to the gate where he was supposed to find his students waiting for him to find absolute hell. Sakura was off, sitting on a rock crying her eyes out. She had a large wound on one side of her cheek. Her bag was next to her, ripped open and all her supplies strewn across the ground. Kakashi didn't even care that most of them were cosmetics, not shinobi gear, but he found himself getting more and more annoyed at his supposedly cute little students. He found the blonde and the Uchiha fighting as if their lives depended on it. The blonde was winning. Naruto skidded across the ground, spinning sideways and launching a kick towards Sasuke. Sasuke crossed his arms in front of him, blocking the kick. Naruto spun once more and kicked. However, this time he was much closer to Sasuke than before. Also, instead of kicking straight forward like he did previously, his leg spun in from the side. The bend of Naruto's leg, the leg he was kicking with, hooked around Sasuke's arms, which were crossed in front of him. The Uchiha couldn't resist the pull of Naruto's leg and felt his arms go down, and with it his guard, leaving his face and chest exposed. Naruto continued with the spin and with his other leg, slammed his shin into the side of Sasuke's face. Sasuke sputtered, spitting blood, and skidded across the ground sideways. Naruto didn't give the Uchiha any moment to recover. He rushed him again. How does it feel, Uchiha? Naruto whispered, his face right in front of Sasuke. To fight me without any of your cronies around. Then he kicked Sasuke's heel, sending the Uchiha falling over backwards. Naruto reversed his momentum, punching Sasuke in the chest. At the last second, Sasuke put his guard up, crossing his arms and taking the punch on his forearms instead. Sasuke fell to the ground on his back, but his guard's still up. Naruto didn't take his fist off of Sasuke's arm after punching him. Instead, he pushed harder and fell with Sasuke. He growled at the Uchiha, obviously angry. Both of you stop it right now, Naruto and Sasuke barely registered the owner of the voice as their sensei and team leader, Hatake Kakashi. They just stared at each other, trying to overpower the other. Right now! Kakashi yelled. At that, the two stopped and looked at Kakashi. Naruto got off of Sasuke glaring, and Sasuke sat up, glaring right back. What's wrong with you two? Kakashi had Sakura in his arms. What happened here? Naruto sat on a rock waiting for Kakashi. He glanced over at where Sasuke was sitting. Sasuke, as usual, was brooding. Sakura sat next to him, coiling her hair around one finger, eyeing the Uchiha coyly. Naruto usually wasn't interested, but today the Uchiha seemed to be in a fouler mood than normal. No matter how much Sakura talked or how soft her voice got, Sasuke was ignoring her. It was sad to watch from the blonde's standpoint. Come on, Sasuke-kun, Sakura muttered. Don't you think the height looks really nice on my hair like this? She said with a shy smile. Sasuke made a vague noise, varying from agreement to a groan. Naruto wondered what Sakura saw in the Uchiha. Sure, the Uchiha was good looking, but he never paid any amount of attention to the pink-haired kunoichi. Didn't she get sick of him? Naruto wondered why she liked a guy who openly detested her so much. To him it was comparable to being nice to the villagers who for so long have openly despised him. He was beginning to wonder if she was a masochist. Sakura just sighed and began to look for another object to talk about or occupy her interest. She found Naruto looking at the two. For a second she wasn't sure if Naruto was looking at them or not, because his eyes were covered by his bangs and from the shadow of his black hood, which was kept up permanently. In Sakura's opinion, Naruto looked a lot like a homeless man. He never smelled. Naruto himself had a heightened sense of smell and could never stand himself to give off a stench, but he was almost always dirty. He looked like he only had a single pair of clothes, and there were always these crusty blood stains on them if one would look closely at them. Sakura didn't know a lot about Naruto. She knew that a lot of the kids hated him and bullied him. Well, not openly. A lot of the kids were afraid of Naruto. He was dead last because he skipped classes and failed all written portions of exams. However, what everyone acknowledged, though they were afraid to openly say it, was that Naruto was strong. In a street fight, or a straight-up one-on-one fight, Naruto was almost never beaten. The only person who had ever managed to beat up Naruto was Sasuke, and that was only because he had a ring of kids who were on his side. Everyone, deep down inside, knew that it was not a fair victory. But a victory was always celebrated towards an openly hated figure like Naruto. Naruto was so deep in his thoughts that he didn't realize that Sakura was staring right back at him. Sakura then realized she'd been staring at Naruto and slapped her own cheek to remind herself that her heart belonged to Sasuke, not some badly clothed bum of a shinobi, no matter how strong he was. She turned back to Sasuke, smiling. But Sasuke was gone. He was standing in front of Naruto. Hey Dobe, Sasuke asked. Teach me how to do that chakra exercise. Sakura's eyes widened. Sasuke was the most proud and dignified kid she knew. The fact that he had stooped to asking Naruto for the chakra exercise was proof how much Sasuke wanted to get stronger. The log exercise must have bothered Sasuke immensely. The blonde stared into Sasuke's onyx eyes. No, he answered. Sasuke's eyes widened. He had just ignored his own pride and strength to stoop to the level of this beggar, and he had been rejected outright. Naruto! Sakura stood up, walking over to where they were. Sasuke-kun is asking you for a favor. You can't just say. Shut up! Naruto stood up, yelling at them. I'm sick and tired of you two. One's so stuck up that he has his head up his own butt, and the other is so in love that she can't even see that he detests her. He turned to the Uchiha. I don't care if your name is Uchiha. I don't care if your name is actually Uzumaki. I detest you, Sasuke. I will never ever teach you a technique. Ever. Then he turned to Sakura. Stop talking to me, you weakling. Don't play ninja to fulfill your first love storyline, it's not a game. I'm not doing it for love. Sakura blushed at the accusation. It was half true. She had never wanted to be a ninja, her parents had forced her. Then when she met Sasuke, she decided to go after him and become a kunoichi worthy of him. You don't know anything. And Sasuke-kun does not detest me. She approached Sasuke from the back and put a hand on his arm. Sasuke-kun, say some. Sasuke elbowed her in the face, not realizing what he had been doing. He was just moving his arm to get Sakura off of him. He never even spared her a glance, he was glaring at Naruto. Get off of me. Sakura did get off of him, falling backwards and ripping her bag on the ground. There was a large welt on her face. She began to cry. Naruto looked at her, feeling a bit of remorse for his words. Hey, that was a bit harsh, don't you think? Sasuke didn't answer. He punched Naruto in the face. The five were walking together. As punishment, Kakashi had made Sasuke, who had made the first strike, to carry Sakura's bag. Naruto, as punishment, was forced to carry Kakashi's bag. Sasuke sent a look of resentment towards Sakura, but it hadn't hurt the girl as much as he expected it to. She wasn't even looking at him at the moment. Naruto just bore the burden without complaint, his eyes obscured beneath his bangs. Tazuna watched all this with a suspicious eye. Tazuna was a fit man, though very aged, with a beard around his mouth. His hair was graying with age, but there was a healthy sheen to his skin. The man's steps were sure and strong, his skin taut and leathery from his time underneath the sun. The man was wearing a sleeveless V-neck shirt and a large backpack. He had a pointy hat on his head that kept the sun out of his eyes. He had not said much since the meeting except look between Naruto and Sasuke, the ones who had fought right in front of him, and Kakashi. The Jounin was in a pissed-off mood, and Tazuna did not want to be the one to light the fuse. Likewise, he did not want to light the fuse for Sasuke or Naruto either. He had asked Sakura if she was okay. He was answered with a sniffle and a sobbing/muffled answer that he assumed was okay. She was a shinobi after all. She should be strong. Sasuke was furious. I lost, that was clearly my loss. He shot a glance towards the blonde who was carrying the bags, an annoyed expression on his face. The Uchiha recalled when Kakashi and Naruto had fought for the first time. Kakashi seemed shocked and impressed. Naruto was definitely stronger than him in terms of simple ninjutsu. That wasn't for lack of trying though. Sasuke, in their previous battle, had tried desperately to gain some distance so that he could have time to form hand seals for a Katon Jutsu, or a Bunshin Jutsu, or at least even the time to throw a shuriken. Instead, Naruto used that damned speed of his to close in on him every time. Even when Sasuke blocked, he used those damned leg techniques of his to somehow break through. The particularly annoying thing was that leg hook thing that Naruto did. Whenever Sasuke guarded, he would simply bring his leg up and hook it in the bend of his knee, bringing it down. Sasuke knew that legs were naturally strong than arms, but it still frustrated him nonetheless. If only I had the Sharingan. Sasuke's sighed and readjusted the backpacks he was carrying. He looked at Sakura and felt a sharp stab of remorse and regret. He hadn't meant to do that. It was just he was so frustrated lately. Catching cats, pulling potatoes, helping civilians move out of houses. He glanced at Naruto again. He had seen how people treated him for the first time. Sasuke felt pity for the blonde when a particularly nasty event happened. Someone from the second floor splashed water on him. Sasuke and Sakura had been walking a bit behind him when it happened. Sakura had gasped and was about to run over to help him when Naruto did something that shocked both of them. He ignored it, as if that was something that happened to him every day, and kept on walking. Naruto's pay had been docked for the damaged items in the boxes he had been carrying. Sasuke was lost in his thoughts when something crazy happened. Sakura screamed. Sasuke, acting on instinct, turned around just in time to see Kakashi being ripped to pieces by chains that were wrapped around him. The two were obviously shinobi, from Kirigakure according to their height. One had unruly hair, reaching to his shoulders. The other one had straight hair coming down to his neck. Both had camouflage clothing and a long black cloak around them. But Sasuke dismissed those as useless information. The thing that he was concentrating on were the gauntlets that the two brothers wore. They had one gauntlet each, and the gauntlets were connected to the other one's gauntlet by a chain. The chain was formed of steel rings, each individual ring decorated with a sharp blade on either side. The two rushed towards them. Sasuke rushed forward to find that Naruto had reacted at the same time he did. They glanced at one another and reached a mutual understanding. They're mine, Uchiha, thought the blonde. I'll be the one to take them down, Uzumaki. Naruto reached one with the unruly hair. He had a crazed look in his eyes. The man raised his gauntlet and brought it down towards Naruto. The blonde turned sideways, dodging the strike easily. When the ninja followed up with an uppercut using his bare hand, Naruto turned the other way, dodging it as well. Naruto's foot spun overhead in an arc towards the man's forehead. The missed knee jerked backwards, dodging the kick, then stabbed towards Naruto with his gauntlet. Naruto turned sideways, dodging it so that he was facing the gauntlet. In the blink of an eye, he placed his elbow on top of the gauntlet, and his knee right below the gauntlet. Naruto channeled his chakra for a brief moment. Sakura saw Naruto's arm and leg glow with darkness. No, it didn't glow. It was a darkness that didn't belong there. It didn't produce a dark light, it sucked up the light around it. That is how it got its existence. It didn't exist by itself, it only existed because it could suck up the light around it. It didn't belong here. With a loud crack of thunder, the gauntlet was crushed. The Mist Nin looked at Naruto, his eyes wide. With the knee that crushed the gauntlet, Naruto kicked the ground. Using that kick as the force, Naruto pushed his knee into the Mist Nin's stomach. The Mist Nin doubled over, grasping his stomach. Naruto backed up and did another overhead kick, his foot covered in black chakra. Naruto's heel met Meizu's head, sending it crashing to the ground, rendering the shinobi unconscious. Naruto looked over at Sasuke. When his opponent stabbed forward with the gauntlet, Sasuke grabbed it. He used it to jump sideways, on the outside of the Mist Nin's available view. Sasuke put his feet on the tree right behind him and pushed, forcing the Mist Nin to fall over. Gozu struggled trying to move his gauntlet, but felt the cold bite of metal against his neck. He looked to find Sasuke sitting on top of him from the side of his kunai on the man's neck. But Sasuke had not disabled his other arm. Gozu's other arm whipped towards Sasuke's head, a kunai in his hand. Naruto's palm met the kunai. Sakura gasped. The kunai stabbed through Naruto's palm, piercing clean through. However, Naruto did not flinch and grabbed the hand that was grabbing the kunai. Gozu stared at what just happened with Sasuke, the latter in shock. He had a bit of blood on the side of his face, some of it splashing on him when Naruto's hand had been stabbed with the kunai. A foot came from nowhere and kicked Gozu in the side of his neck, rendering the man unconscious. The hand holding the kunai went limp and fell. However, the kunai was still stuck in Naruto's hand. The genin locked gazes with Sasuke for a bare second before walking away, taking the blade out of his hand and moving towards his backpack. Sasuke looked up and found that it was Kakashi who had kicked Gozu. Good job, Sasuke. There was something in Kakashi's eyes that told Sasuke that the words were heartfelt. There was pride in Kakashi's one single eye. You can go over to Sakura and Naruto now. Kakashi grabbed Gozu and Meizu, dragging the two into the woods. I'll be right back, he muttered. Sasuke walked over to where Naruto and Sakura were sitting on the ground, strangely numb. And Naruto? Sakura asked, genuine worry and concern in her voice. Hey, are you okay? Naruto looked at her, his eyes hidden by his blonde bangs and the shadow of his hood. He seemed surprised by the question. I'm fine. Sakura sighed and watched as Naruto began to rummage in his backpack. Move over, she pushed him aside, taking his bag from him. Naruto was having a difficult time opening it using his teeth and only one hand. The blonde shrugged. What are you looking for, Naruto? Naruto held up his hand. Oh, right. Sakura muttered, rather bashful. She looked in his bag, finding some disinfectants and a roll of bandages. Give me your hand, she told him. Naruto obeyed. As the kunoichi began to disinfect the rather large stab wound on Naruto's hand, the four descended into silence once more. Sasuke stood behind Naruto, watching the process. Tazuna watched, though he seemed to be deep in thought. Why'd you do that for me? Sasuke suddenly asked. Naruto looked at the Uchiha. Sakura was too absorbed in wrapping Naruto's hand in bandages. Do what? Naruto asked, tilting his head quizzically. You know, Sasuke looked away, embarrassed for the first time in his life. He had just had his life saved by someone his age. He could have died if Naruto had not done that. It wasn't just that. Naruto could have grabbed the man's wrist or slapped it away. If he had done so, he wouldn't have suffered such a large wound. The only reason Naruto could have done this was if he had no other idea in mind. The blonde had panicked, so he did the first thing that came to his mind. That was to try and grab the blade. Why'd you save me? Naruto looked into Sasuke's eyes for a second. There was genuine curiosity there. Naruto thought about his answer. Because, he whispered, it was the right thing to do, Uchiha. He stared at Sasuke, locking gazes. I'd do the same for Sakura too. Sakura finished bandaging the blonde's hand and looked at him. She had been really shocked when Naruto did the thing that he had done. The blonde had been watching the battle when he saw Sasuke topple the big man over. Then Naruto, though Sakura did not know why, ran towards the two, covering the ground in an instant. She saw the man grab the kunai, and before she could even warn Sasuke, the Mist Nin swung it towards his head. Naruto's hand was faster though and grabbed the kunai, blade first, letting it stab through his palm. She was kind of touched that Naruto had let himself get hurt like that just to protect Sasuke. Then he had said he'll do the same for her. And he'd said her name. That was the first time ever that Naruto had said her name. Sakura smiled, glad that they had gone on this mission. You know, Naruto, she said to him, you're not the badass that you try to be. Naruto looked at her, no emotion in his face. You're just a softa inside, aren't you? She said, smiling. Naruto opened his mouth to say something. Sakura had an ominous feeling it was going to be something sharp that was going to ruin the mood. Right on cue, Kakashi stepped out from the woods. Well, we're in quite a predicament. The three genins looked at Kakashi. Sakura sighed, glad that she didn't hear whatever was about to come out of the blonde's mouth next. Kakashi turned to Tazuna. Tazuna-san, tell me, why did you not tell us that you are being targeted by shinobi? Tazuna kept silent. Kakashi nodded. That's that then, come on kids, we're going home. What? Sakura whispered. Why? Tazuna-san here, Kakashi gestured at Tazuna, has only paid for a C-rank mission. However, there are other countries' shinobi out to assassinate him. Those two you guys just faced, Kakashi jerked a thumb towards the woods behind him, were famous assassins known as the Demon Brothers. They underestimated you guys. If they had been serious, you guys would be dead. But the fact is, we're going to face other shinobi. That means this is at least a B-rank mission. I'm not putting you guys in danger. Sensei, said Sasuke. We want to do this mission. Kakashi looked at Sasuke. Anyone else? Me too. Sakura piped up. I finally feel like we're a team. Kakashi nodded. He had observed the thing with Naruto and Sasuke. Is your hand okay, by the way, Naruto? Naruto lifted it up. It was covered in layers of bandages, definitely more than necessary. I'm fine. What do you think about the mission? Naruto remained silent. Then he turned to Tazuna. Tazuna began to moan. Oh, my pretty daughter and my grandson, they'll be devastated when they hear it because inhumane shinobi from Konoha refused to escort me back to my house. I was killed, oh my family. Naruto sighed. I keep my word. Naruto muttered. I also want to go on the mission. Sasuke got a satisfied smirk on his face and looked at Kakashi. Even Sakura looked a bit hopeful at that. Please, sensei? Sakura begged. Kakashi sighed. Fine. They began to walk again. Since when did they become so buddy-buddy? Naruto heard something rustling. The blonde took out 3 shuriken and in one smooth movement threw them towards the source of the sound. Sasuke followed suit, drawing 2 kunais and getting ready for whatever Naruto had attacked to come rushing out at them. Sakura placed herself between Tazuna and whatever enemy they were about to encounter. Tazuna tensed, wondering what kind of shinobi was after him now. A rabbit came out of the bush. It sniffed the ground near the group's feet and then loped away. The 4 sweat dropped. Kakashi came back from the docks where they had just gotten off. He had been negotiating the price with the boat owners. Hey, I just finished paying them. Then he looked at the expression that the 3 wore. What's going on? Nothing. Sakura laughed nervously, peering at Naruto. Nothing at all. The blonde cleared his throat. Thought I heard something, he muttered. Sasuke stared at Naruto. So even he's not perfect. Kakashi turned around and began to walk. Okay then, let's head out, shall we? Once again the group of 5 resumed walking. My place is not too far from here, Tazuna explained. After you get me there, you guys are free to go. He smiled widely, flashing his teeth. Sakura smiled, proud to have accomplished her first mission. She also felt as if she got a lot closer to her teammates. Already the scene where she had been crying in front of the gates while Naruto and Sasuke fought was a distant memory to her. She glanced at Sasuke, who seemed to be deep in thought. She looked at the blonde with his trademark emotionless expression. That was the difference between the two, Sakura decided. While Sasuke looked like he was brooding or deep in thought, Naruto looked as if he was empty. She didn't think the blonde was dumb. No, it just simply looked like he didn't care or his mind wasn't there. It looked like he put an emotionless shell around himself to keep his true self hidden and away from other people. But why? In Sasuke's own little world, Naruto's words were ringing throughout his head. Because it was the right thing to do, the blonde had said. He would do it for Sakura too, he had said. Sasuke sighed, shaking his head. Did that mean despite Naruto's cold exterior and sharp words, he cared about them? But his words didn't say he cared about them. He said it was the right thing to do. Strangely, the words the blonde said had a power of their own. It rang in Sasuke's head, seemingly striking a bell. There must be a reason why Naruto had said that. He had always found it strange why the blonde never retaliated or beat to a pulp anyone who dared to cross him, especially the civilian population. He saw how Naruto was treated. Just the other day, these kids in the academy, no older than 8, threw rocks at Naruto, who was just walking down the street minding his own business. Sasuke didn't have any illusions that Naruto hated them with a deep passion. Yet Naruto would protect them if he needed to, and give up his life for them if it was called for. Why do that for someone he hated? Sasuke didn't get it. He looked at the blonde. Is that where you get your strength from, Uzumaki Naruto? Sasuke kicked a tiny rock that was in his way, seeing it hit the base of a tree and roll off. The desire to protect everyone? Even people who detest you so? Naruto had something else in mind entirely. Damn it, I'm hungry. He felt a rumbling in his stomach and looked around, seeing if anyone else heard it. That was kind of embarrassing. Where's this guy's house? I wonder if he'll give us some food to eat. And maybe not. He looks pretty poor. It's been days since I had a meal. I hope this mission pays out. Sakura saw Naruto looked around. Even now he's on his guard. And just like that the 5 almost died. Duck! Kakashi screamed out to his students. Naruto obeyed without a second thought, grabbing Tazuna on the way down, who was too slow to react. Sasuke and Sakura ducked as well. Something big and fast whirled over them, and Naruto felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up from the wind pressure created by it. Then with an audible thunk, Naruto saw a huge sword embed itself into the tree. And an absolute giant of a man landed on the blade. Despite the man sitting on it, the blade was so deeply embedded into the tree that it didn't even budge. That was how strong the owner of the sword must have thrown it, a testament to his physical strength and prowess. The man sitting on top of it was its wielder. He had short brown hair, cropped close to his head. He had the same height as the demon brothers that they had fought before, with similar clothing. His face, similar to Kakashi's sense of fashion, was covered in a mask made of bandages. The man had no eyebrows, though it took them a while to realize it. He had no shirt on, showing a build that was a lot heavier than Kakashi's, comprised of muscle. Copycat Kakashi, the man's voice was deep and gruff. He stood up, staring at them with his arms crossed across his chest. No wonder the demon brothers failed. Momochi Zabuza, demon of the hidden mist, Kakashi muttered. Why are we standing around talking? Naruto stepped towards the enemy shinobi. I'll take care of this punk. No! Something in Kakashi's voice made the genin stop. This one's out of your league, Naruto. Kakashi looked at Sasuke as well. You 3 guard Tazuna, I'll take care of this one. Humph. Naruto put his hands back into his hoodie pockets. Whatever. What a cocky little piece of shit, Zabuza muttered. The air around him whirled until he disappeared out of sight, and the man appeared on the ground a few feet away from Kakashi and the others. I'll kill you first. Kakashi raised his height. It doesn't look like this battle's something I can win without becoming serious. In place of an eye with a black pupil like his right one, a different type of eye was in place. It had a red pupil with a black center. There were 3 tomos around it, spinning lazily. Naruto watched this with interest, not knowing what was happening. Sakura seemed to be in the same situation, but she heard the sharp breath that Sasuke took and looked at him. The boy seemed to be shaking and his eyes were glued to Kakashi. "T the S Sharingan," Sasuke whispered. The only one who heard it was Sakura. How does he's not an Uchiha? I already get to see the famous Sharingan, I'm flattered. Zabuza muttered, hoisting the gigantic sword on top of his shoulder. What's the Sharingan? Sakura asked, looking at Sasuke. But the genin wasn't paying any attention to anything else but Kakashi. She looked at Naruto, but the blonde didn't answer him either. He was paying attention to the battle. She saw that the blonde's eyes were concentrated on a single item, but she didn't know what it was. It's a Dijutsu, Taijutsu, Ninjutsu and Genjutsu, one of the few Kekai Genkai that can break through each of those techniques. Zabuza took his sword off of his shoulder and planted it on the ground, beginning to form hand seals with one hand. The eye that Hatake Kakashi is so famous for that he's become known throughout the world as the man who has copied over 1,000 jutsus. That is the specialty of the Sharingan, to memorize and copy any jutsu that the opponent uses. If a jutsu is copied once, it's remembered forever. Naruto looked at the floor, seeing the rolling clouds of mist gather around his feet. He looked around and the mist was growing thicker and blanketing the area like a group of storm clouds. The blonde took his hands out of his pocket, feeling the air grow cold, and was something else. This battle was different than the ones he had been in until now. Naruto had been in numerous life and death situations. He had been in fights with adults, kids his age, and now, other ninja. But the atmosphere surrounding this battle was different. The danger was the same, the risk the same as well. If he lost, Naruto would die, but the difference here was that Zabuza could kill Naruto easily. Zabuza was quite frankly way above Naruto's league. The blonde looked at his hands and found them shaking. His blue eyes widened as he looked at Sakura and Sasuke. They were shaking as well. Sakura was hugging herself, looking only at the floor, trying to find some semblance of stability in the mist clouds that were growing thicker. Sasuke was gripping a kunai in one hand, but he was no longer looking at Kakashi like before. His eyes were flickering all over the place, fear evident in them, looking all over the place for where Zabuza might attack from. Naruto gulped and looked at his hands again. So this is killing intent. Guys, pull yourselves together. Kakashi's voice snapped through the mist. Naruto looked up, as did the other two. Kakashi's words were like a lightning rod, gathering their attentions and focusing it on one point. In Sakura and Sasuke's case, it was literally a single ray of sunshine piercing through the dark clouds of fear in their mindscapes. For Naruto, it was a reminder that it was no time to let his mind wander. I won't let you guys die no matter what. Naruto closed his eyes, letting himself find brief comfort in the safety and the confidence of those words. Kakashi wasn't someone to give empty words of assurance to them. He meant every word that he spoke, and he believed in them. That belief gave the three genin strength. Cute. Zabuza's voice rang through the mist. Kakashi looked around, trying to discern which direction the demon's voice had come from, but it was near impossible. Die. Sasuke and Sakura felt something smack into them, knocking the breath out of them. Sakura had no idea what hit her, but she let herself be carried away. Sasuke got a brief glimpse of who had hit him. Naruto jumped up into the air and kicked sideways with both legs in either direction, sending the Uchiha and the Haruno girl flying away. Zabuza's blade swept by the ground, missing both of them. Tazuna freaked out and fell on his butt. Zabuza was right in front of Tazuna, just having finished sweeping the ground with his blade, facing the blonde who had just saved his teammates' lives. Zabuza spun, drawing the blade behind him, and raised it, slicing the air in front of him in a vertical cut. Naruto sidestepped the vertical strike, but not fast enough. He felt a few strands of his hair float down. The blonde spun sideways, rushing towards Zabuza, getting close to him within seconds. The genin used the momentum of his spin to launch out with a sideways kick towards the Mist Nin's ribs. The Mist Nin's giant hands grabbed Naruto's ankle and with monstrous strength simply pushed, toppling the blonde. The usually dexterous Naruto felt his back hit the dirt and looked up. The blade descended towards him. Naruto stared at the descending blade, unflinching. There was a blur and a loud clang of metal on metal. Kakashi stood, facing Naruto, his fist raised. The metal plate on the back of his glove had blocked the descending strike, though not without consequences. Naruto saw droplets of blood fall to the ground from the point of impact. Kakashi's other arm had a kunai at Zabuza's neck. Zabuza had used both arms to slice downwards towards Naruto, and was glaring at the copycat ninja. If Zabuza leaned forward anymore, the kunai would have pierced his throat. Kakashi smiled at Naruto. Good job, Naruto, you're finally starting to act like a real shinobi. He looked at Zabuza from the corner of his eye. It's over, give up. Zabuza's mouth curved into a smile from beneath his mask. Then he exploded into water. Kakashi's eyes widened. When did he? Kakashi jumped into the air, his legs spread to either side as he felt the blade nick the bottom of his shoes. Naruto ducked underneath the slash and grabbed Tazuna, rolling away from the battle and standing up, his attention never wavering from it. Naruto watched as Kakashi tried to turn around. But Zabuza had slashed first, and Kakashi's back was to him. Zabuza's sword hit the ground, and Naruto realized to his shock that the Mist Nin wielded it with one hand. He wasn't surprised at Zabuza's strength. No, he was watching Zabuza's legs and he knew what was coming. Sensei! Naruto called out, but it was too late. Zabuza, his right arm behind him holding onto the blade, used the momentum of the swing to kick with his left leg. His shin hit Kakashi's own, however Kakashi was in midair. Kakashi spun sideways, losing control of his fall. Then Zabuza switched grips, letting go of the sword with his right hand and grabbing it with his left. As he did, he lashed out with his right leg, kicking Kakashi in the back and sending him falling to the small lake in front of them. Kakashi felt Zabuza's kick strike his back and felt himself flying into the water before feeling the water hit him in the back. Zabuza was already next to him, forming hand seals with one hand. It's too late. Zabuza muttered to Kakashi, peering at the copycat ninja from the corner of his bloodshot eyes. Suiton, Suiro no Jutsu. Water release, water prison technique. Crap, the water's heavy. Kakashi tried to move within the prison but felt the water weighing him down. The weight of the water had been increased by Zabuza and this technique. Kakashi felt his arm move, but it felt as if he was wading through wet cement that was beginning to harden. He cursed and looked at Zabuza, seeing the smug grin on his face. Sakura observed this, growing horror on her face. She looked at Sasuke, who was getting up with a grimace on his face. The Uchiha shot a brief look at the blonde, full of irritation. But Naruto wasn't paying attention to them. He had his eyes glued to the two jounins. Because his eyes were covered by his bangs, it was hard for her to gauge his reaction, but even Naruto seemed to be worried at this new predicament. He had pursed his lips and his hands were shaking. Naruto had just experienced the difference in strength between him and Zabuza. I could have died just now. Naruto looked at his hand, which had resumed its shaking. He's on a whole different level from the demon brothers. He even has Kakashi beat right now. How the hell are we supposed to get him free? Zabuza formed hand seals with one hand again. The water in front of him began to clash and struggle, before it congealed into a solid form, creating an identical copy of Zabuza, the sword and all. It began to approach towards them, taking one lumbering step after another. "Run!" Kakashi yelled out from the water sphere. "You can't beat him." Kakashi's voice came out muffled and weirdly contorted by the water prison, the liquid which had its density increased to more than 10 times the normal amount. Naruto glanced at Tazuna. The old man looked scared and even seemed resigned in a way. He looked at Sasuke and at Sakura. They were looking at him. He had to make a decision. Would he fight against this monster who he had a snowball's chance in hell of beating? Or would he run? Naruto closed his eyes. His whole entire childhood was comprised of running. Stealing a stray fish or vegetable off of a citizen's shop and running. Those had been horrifying times, but now that he looked back on it, it was a simpler time. He had run away from drunkards who had come to him with frying pans, large sticks and knives. He had run away from other kids when he was younger, always being pelted by pebbles and other things. Once he had beat up a kid. The kid went home crying to his mother, who asked him if he was okay and said she'll make him his favorite food. Naruto, when he was beaten or bullied, went home and crawled into his closet hiding from the men who came at night. He never had a friend before in his entire life. No one ever babied him or asked him if he was okay. No one had ever protected him or cared about him. He had been a weakling who knew not a single thing about protecting oneself or protecting other people. He had been a coward. He had run his whole entire life. But hadn't he made a promise to himself that he'd stop running once he became a shinobi? Naruto opened his eyes, staring right at Zabuza. He was done running. Sasuke, Sakura. Naruto's voice was clear and it was rid of any doubts that he had before. His mind was clean now. Kakashi saw the rapid change in Naruto's expression. Where his eyes were full of fear and doubt just moments before, now it was clear and full of confidence. "Back me up," Naruto muttered. Sakura barely had any time to register what he had said before the blonde charged towards the jounin. Zabuza looked at Kakashi in the water prison. "Your student is about to die. How does it feel to be powerless?" Kakashi shook his head. "You don't know what you're getting into." The clone raised his sword to cut Naruto in two. However, the blonde, though nowhere close to the clone, kicked upwards. And sand flew through the air. The clone grunted and lifted the sword with one hand, covering his eye with the other. Naruto covered the distance in a split second and leaped towards the water clone, jumping into the air. Then he spun in the air once, bringing his heel down towards the clone in an arcing kick. However, the clone had his blade up and Naruto's foot seemed to be heading straight towards it. But Naruto's foot was covered with black chakra, resembling solid smoke which left a trail of it behind itself, in the air that it had traveled. Naruto's foot hit the sword's edge, but unlike what Zabuza had been expecting, the sword did not cut through Naruto's kick. Instead, the black chakra blocked the sword's edge, acting as a shield. Naruto yelled and brought down his other leg, which was also covered in black chakra. The clone, no matter how strong it was, couldn't hold the sword and the weight of the blonde with one arm. Also, the blonde's strength had been increased by his chakra, which exploded upon the second strike. Naruto's kick sheared through the sword, turning it back into water and hit the clone's head, dispelling it. Zabuza's eyes widened. That kid's chakra, it's almost like it's corporeal. That's not possible. He hadn't even manipulated its shape nor an element. It's almost like his chakra is an element unto itself. Naruto landed on all fours, breathing hard. "Who is that kid?" Zabuza asked Kakashi, suddenly urgent. "He could be useful." Kakashi smirked beneath his mask. "He's Uzumaki Naruto, the self-proclaimed weakest, dirtiest, and the most persistent ninja in the village." Zabuza narrowed his eyes. Then he smirked. "Hey kid." Naruto raised his head, surprising Zabuza the clarity in his eyes. Nice eyes, kid. Zabuza tightened the grip on his sword and raised it, pointing at Naruto with it. How about you join me? Naruto scoffed. No chance in hell, Naruto muttered. I have a dream to fulfill. Then he cocked his head, a grin lightening his face. But I'll take your sword. Zabuza looked taken aback. Take my sword? Naruto nodded. Zabuza laughed. His laughter filled the clearing, loud and full of mirth. Naruto grimaced, bothered by Zabuza's reaction. He thought that he had shown enough of his skill to be taken seriously by the Jounin, but deep inside he knew it wasn't enough. Of course, clones were always weaker than the original. What he had defeated wasn't but a fraction of Zabuza's real strength. But he had meant every word. He was going to take that sword. Well then, Zabuza muttered once he was done laughing. Then he turned his gaze towards the genin, a new wave of killing intent emanating from him. Naruto put a finger in his collar and pulled it a bit, stretching it to allow for more air. He looked backwards, wondering if Sasuke and Sakura were affected by the killing intent as much as before. They weren't. Instead, both of them looked at him and nodded. Shall we begin? Zabuza finished. Naruto didn't need a better cue to start. Now! Naruto yelled and ran towards Zabuza, taking out a few shuriken and throwing it towards the mist Jounin. Zabuza held his sword in front of him, blocking the small thrown weapons with the flat of the blade, which was wide enough to cover his whole body. One of my most prized possessions, Sasuke muttered, taking something out of his bag. Sakura glanced at it, and saw that it was a ring with a blade on it. However, when Sasuke held it by the ring and flicked his wrist, the blades unfolded, revealing 3 additional blades. Sasuke held it across his body, looking through the ring in the center. Fuma Shuriken. Sasuke brought the shuriken behind his body, then swung, using the momentum of his whole body to send the large shuriken towards the mist ninja. The shuriken curved in the air before heading towards Zabuza, the sound of it cutting the air filling the clearing like an insect's buzz. Naruto ran towards Zabuza, and when he reached the water's clearing he jumped, flipping forward and descending towards Zabuza with his heel once more, one leg slightly behind the other. Choose, Sasuke whispered. My shuriken or Naruto's kick. Zabuza smirked. When the shuriken reached him, Zabuza grabbed it out of the air, shocking both Sasuke and Naruto. He caught it. Sasuke thought with shock, and it was evident upon his face. Zabuza grinned with satisfaction. Until Sasuke smiled. What he had thought was a shadow of the Fuma Shuriken was another Fuma Shuriken, and it cursed upwards, shooting right towards Zabuza's abdomen. The mist Jounin jumped into the air, letting the Fuma Shuriken pass right below his feet. Zabuza looked a bit surprised, but as he landed he got a sense of composure again. He unfolded the shuriken, getting ready to throw it towards the genin. He swung it behind him, his shoulders moving into motion to toss it. Then he remembered Naruto. Shit! The blonde. There's no time. Zabuza brought his sword up, with the blade's edge facing upwards. But it wasn't Zabuza that Naruto's heel descended upon. It was the water prison. Naruto thought back to the training that he had with Kakashi when he had broken the huge log. He concentrated chakra to his heel, and perhaps for the first time, saw the tendrils of shadow covering it. The blonde was shocked at this, and looked at his other leg, which he was also channeling chakra to. It was also wrapped in darkness, leaving residues of itself behind like smoke when one waves a large fire around. Naruto ignored that fact, seeing the chakra flicker, pushing it into the back of his mind for later. And his heel slammed into the water prison. Then his second heel. With a loud sound of water hitting water, reminding them of a waterfall, the prison broke. Zabuza, whose vision had been obscured by his own sword, looked down to see the water prison broken and immediately stopped channeling chakra into his hand. He cursed and grabbed the blade with both hands, swinging it down towards the blonde who was halfway submerged in the water. Kakashi blocked it again, using the metal plate of his glove. He smiled at Zabuza. You should know by now this one doesn't like to play fair. Zabuza leapt away, snarling with rage. His eyes were bloodshot, red filled to the rims. Zabuza grabbed his blade and put it on his back, hoisting the blade through a belt on his back. The man began to form hand seals. You don't know water walking yet, so I'll give you a little help, Naruto. Kakashi had one eye closed. The only thing he was looking the world with was his Sharingan. He kicked Naruto in the back, sending the blonde back to the shore to watch with Tazuna, Sasuke and Sakura. Naruto landed but turned around just as fast, staring at the battle that was taking place before them. Suiton, Suryuden no Jutsu. Water release, water dragon bullet technique, said Zabuza, finishing his hand seals. The water around him began to swirl and rise, getting violent and creating whirlpools and tidal waves. Then something gigantic, almost out of a fantasy book, rose out of the water. It was a dragon formed completely of icy cold waters of the lake. It roared as it rose into the sky, before heading towards Kakashi in a downward spiral. Suiton, Suryuden no Jutsu, Kakashi said at the same time. The water around him simply swirled, creating something that looked like a whirlpool. From the center of the whirlpool came a dragon of equal size with Zabuza's dragon, except that his had blue eyes. The dragon roared before ascending towards Zabuza's technique, both of them clashing and sending waves of water in all directions. The meeting of the two dragons was so violent that water droplets flew into the air, creating waves large enough to hide the two shinobi from view. Sakura covered her eyes from the falling water droplets, trying to glue her eyes to the battle. Damn it, stop. Copying me? Kakashi finished. What? Zabuza's eyes widened in shock and anger, a mixture of the two. What did you say, you stupid monkey? Kakashi muttered. Once again both of them had begun to form hand seals at lightning speed, running along the water's surface. Zabuza's eyes widened as he looked at Kakashi's hand seals. Impossible! Those are my technique? Suiton, Daibakufu no Jutsu, Kakashi yelled, sending a rippling ride of water towards Zabuza. As it traveled an increasing amount of distance, the tide of water seemed to gather more of its kind to itself, becoming bigger and bigger. Eventually Zabuza was facing a large wall of water that was well over 20, or even 30 feet tall. Zabuza screamed in anger. Instead of sending his technique in a straight line, he diverted his chakra to surge upwards. While Kakashi's jutsu descended downwards like a tsunami, Zabuza's technique soared into the sky as a pillar of water. The pillar hit Kakashi's technique with the same amount of chakra, but there was a difference. Kakashi's technique was falling downwards, following gravity, and with that additional pull his technique pierced through Zabuza's pillar and engulfed the man in ice-cold water. The aftermath of the technique was devastating. It created literal tidal waves which rose as high as 10 to 15 feet. However, Kakashi had been running sideways, luring Zabuza with him, towards the center of the lake. The tidal waves diminished long before it hit the genin, only serving to soak them from head to toe, but no other harm came to them. Zabuza was launched from the center of the lake, passing right by the group of bystanders and hitting a tree. Kakashi rushed out of the water as well, holding a single kunai in a reverse grip. Time to die, Zabuza. And Kakashi prepared to launch himself at the man. Zabuza growled and moved a hand to grab the handle of his blade, then stopped himself. He hung his head. I give. There was a sound of ripping flesh. Sakura put a hand to her mouth automatically, her face obviously horrified by the event. Sasuke breathed sharply in shock, the combination of the sound and the sight before him shocking him in ways that he did not expect. Even Naruto turned his head away from the scene before him. Zabuza fell, 3 needles embedded in his neck. That was a pretty good fight, said a melodious voice. Kakashi and his team of genin looked to see another shinobi, hanging upside down from a tree. The shinobi had a mask over his face, red swirls on the bottom of the mask and 4 slashes on the forehead area, depicting the ninja's allegiance. He had a robe resembling a kimono, but underneath it, his sleeves and shirt resembled the design of the other Kiri ninjas, long striped lines. The ninja had long hair as well, pinned up into a bun at the top. He was twirling a senbon in his hand. Then he landed next to Zabuza's body. Thanks, I've been tracking this guy for a while. You'll excuse me if I take the body? The slender shinobi made a motion as to grab Zabuza. Someone grabbed his arm. What the hunter Nin muttered, looking at the owner of the hand. Naruto looked right back at him, his eyes hidden by hair and shadow. Everyone stopped. Would you mind releasing me? The shinobi muttered after a while and leaned a shoulder at his arm and Naruto's hand. You're squeezing rather hard. Naruto muttered something. What was that? You had no right to do that. The shinobi cocked his head to the side. What? He gave up. He had given up the fight. Naruto raised his head, giving the shinobi a view of his face. He had given up. You had no right to kill him. The shinobi reacted with violence, jerking his arm out of Naruto's grip and backhanding him across the face. Naruto dodged it by swaying his body back and with a savage snarl, headbutted the shinobi. With a loud sound, the shinobi fell to the floor. A drop of blood fell from under the mask and Sakura saw that there was a crack on the mask. Naruto, enough. Kakashi ordered. He was an enemy, that's a hunter Nin, that's his job. To kill. Who decides that? Naruto muttered. Who decides who dies? Naruto gestured at the body. He'd given up. You could have taken him alive. He turned to the shinobi sitting on the floor staring at him through that damned mask of his. Naruto, he's an enemy, you don't need to. Yes, I do need to protect him. Naruto turned facing them and then turned to Haku again. Why'd you kill? Kakashi appeared behind Naruto and struck him in the back of his neck, rendering the blonde unconscious. Sleep, Naruto. The hunter nin nodded and got up, dusting his clothes. Please excuse my student, Kakashi muttered, leaning Naruto against a tree. He's not really used to being a ninja yet. Understood. The hunter nin grabbed the body. Since you're the one who allowed me to catch him anyways, I'll overlook it. With those words, the hunter nin disappeared with Zabuza's body over his shoulder. Kakashi looked at the unconscious blonde. Naruto, what are your beliefs? What are your ideals? I'm beginning to think your dream of changing Konoha into the Konoha that you dream is maybe a fool's dream. Kakashi was doing push-ups with Sakura on his back. Sensei, Sakura was still feeling the after effects of watching Kakashi's battle against Zabuza. Do you think I'll ever get to be as strong as you? As long as you train long and hard, Kakashi said between breaths. Nothing is impossible. You know a teacher's greatest hope is that his students surpass him. Sakura sighed, kicking her legs like a little girl, but her heart wasn't in it. Kakashi noticed this but kept silence. He continued to do push-ups, giving the girl time to think. You have to want to get stronger of your own free will, thought the Jounin. Or all training is useless for you. Seeing Naruto and Sasuke should have started to fan those flames for the desire to grow stronger by now. Sakura put a finger between her locks and ear, tucking it behind her ear, and looked out the window. Just how long am I going to be a burden? Kakashi continued to work, concentrating on his own recuperation. However, it was like telling himself not to think about big pink elephants. Kakashi's thought wandered to his students, both of whom were training right now. Sakura had finished the training fast because she had exceptional chakra control. But Sasuke and Naruto had monstrous amounts of chakra, and it was understandable that they'd have more difficulty controlling it. Sasuke, Kakashi predicted, would most likely complete the training first. Sasuke was talented, and he knew with just the right type of training he could make Sasuke into a first-rate ninja. The Uchiha name had nothing to do with this. Sasuke was a hard-working ninja who had talent to match it. Thanks to this, he was like a well-oiled machine producing results with every type of training. Kakashi estimated that Sasuke would be the one to benefit the most from this training. He took one hand off of the floor, staring at his palm. He has the Sharingan as well. Perhaps I've found someone whom I can pass on my technique to. Then there was Naruto. The blonde had an explosive personality with nothing to temper it. Kakashi had a feeling Naruto was the type to get into a fight even knowing that he'd lose. It was worse because of his cold attitude, which made people get pissed off at him. Kakashi didn't think Naruto cared nothing for his teammates, but the blonde wasn't willing to open his heart. Whether it was because of past experiences or not, Kakashi vowed that he would fix this. The blonde's talent, on the other hand, might as well surpass Sasuke's. Naruto had little to no talent in the area of genjutsu, but that wasn't a problem. The boy's chakra had distinct properties, two of which Kakashi was able to find out. First was the physical property. His black chakra was able to physically manifest itself. This, if it was other chakra, required either shape manipulation or elemental manipulation. Another thing that he had seen with his Sharingan while watching Naruto's battle against Zabuza was that Naruto's chakra seemed to react with other people's chakra, turning it into nothing. His chakra, in a way, was anti-chakra, combining with other people's and taking it away. He only knew this because he saw it with the Sharingan. Kakashi didn't know about Naruto's talent in terms of ninjutsu, but his talent in taijutsu was obvious. Just as Kakashi began to wonder if Guy would teach Naruto a thing or two, Kakashi jumped off of his back. He stopped doing push-ups and sat on the floor, his legs spread out in front of him. What's wrong, Sakura? He folded a knee and placed his hand on it. Oh, I'm just going to see how Naruto and Sasuke are doing. She waved farewell and ran out of the living room. Kakashi sighed. I wonder if their training is going well. Naruto grunted as he leapt off of the tree with one foot. The blonde growled and rubbed a hand over his hair, noting the shortness. The first thing that happened to him when he woke up was being held in a headlock by Tsunami, the mom of the household. Tsunami looked rather young for her age, which was a forbidden topic. She had long flowing dark blue hair that hung down to her waist. Anyways, when Naruto awoke, the first thing that happened was that she kidnapped him from Kakashi and his team to cut his hair. She had cropped it close to his head, though it was still spiky in places. Right now he and his teammates were trying to learn tree walking. Kakashi, after brooding on the matter, decided that Zabuza was most likely not dead. As a result, now they were going through this training. Naruto watched as the Uchiha ran up the tree about 15 feet before scratching it with a kunai as he jumped off. The Uchiha landed on the ground with casual dexterity and shot a glance at Naruto, noting Naruto's progress on the tree. Damn it, he's catching up. Sasuke grimaced and gathered a bit more chakra into his legs, preparing to go at it once more. The blonde stopped getting tired of this training. Damn it, I'm so tired of this. Will this really make me stronger? Then an interesting thought entered his head. I wonder what'll happen if I concentrate my chakra in my nose and ears. Naruto sniffed, frowning. This scent, he narrowed his eyes. I remember it. Naruto turned around as if to walk away from the clearing. Hey, Sasuke halted, looking at Naruto's back. Where do you think you're going? Naruto answered with a grunt and ignored the Uchiha's glare as he walked into the trees and disappeared from view. Whatever. Sasuke looked at the tree he was working on and gripped his kunai tighter. That's his problem. He looked at the tree in front of him and breathed in frustration. He was advancing only little by little, and it wasn't enough for him. He wondered how long it would take before he could stick to the ceiling like Sakura. Naruto walked into the trees following his nose. He narrowed his eyes, the images of the hunter ninja going through his head and Kakashi's proclamation that Zabuza wasn't dead. That meant he had a score to settle. He wondered from how far away he was sensing the ninja, but noticed that the scent was getting stronger steadily. He took his time and watched where he stepped, making sure he didn't break any branches to alert him of his presence. Careful, whelp, a voice said inside of his head. He smells sinister like that young black hair. Shut up. Naruto thought right back. I didn't give you permission to speak. Getting cheeky, are we? Naruto could practically see the fox, its tongue lolling in its mouth as if lay inside its cage, its mouth stretched into a fox grin. I'm giving you advice so that you do not die, whelp. The blonde sighed and leaped onto a tree. Instead of using his chakra to stick to it, he placed his feet on it and gripped onto a branch, digging in with his limbs. He closed his eyes to get a better sense of direction of where the scent was coming from. He heard the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves as his sense of hearing heightened as well. Naruto heard the wind brush against cloth, but not his own. This cloth was a lot longer than his black hoodie. A lot softer and silkier, definitely high-end quality. Naruto could smell some kind of flowery shampoo. What kind of guy smells like flowers or even choose to use flowery shampoo? It's a female, whelp. The fox rumbled, setting the hair on the back of his neck on end. Her chakra doesn't smell right, she lies west of you. Be careful. If I'm right. I told you I can take care of myself. Snapped Naruto, growling a bit. He heard amused laughter in his mind before the fox's consciousness receded. He cursed himself for ever making that deal with the devil incarnate. He was nothing but a nuisance. Though the fox had his fair share of moments in times like these, Naruto grew annoyed at the fox's ramblings. It had happened when he was 9. Where am I? Naruto was walking through a dark tunnel. On the ceiling, on the walls, and even on the floor were long pipes that lead into a bigger room. He was not sure how he knew, but he knew that the direction he was walking towards was the right direction. He felt a presence waiting for him there, patient and eager. It felt as if whoever was waiting for him at the end had been waiting a long time for him. Naruto blocked the light with his eyes as he entered a new room. It was huge, the ceiling so high up that he couldn't see where it ended. The only thing he saw was darkness. The same for the walls of the place. The ground was covered in water that reached a little below his knees. Naruto waded through it, looking at the thing in front of him in horror. There was a cage of huge proportions in front of him, the bars thicker than Naruto himself. On the bars were paper seals which were as large as Naruto. The blonde stared in wonder at the cage and its inhabitant. A giant fox. A giant red-furred fox. Said fox was looking at him, its tongue lolling out of its mouth, with a sinister smile on its lips. Naruto knew as soon as he laid eyes on the fox that it was evil. It wasn't just a matter of having malicious intent, or even hating someone. It was pure evil. It was the incarnation of everything bad in the world: wrath, gluttony, envy, greed, lust, sloth, and pride, all battered together to form a concoction of pure evil. It was looking at Naruto with interest and seeming patience, but he could tell that it was anything but patient. It was using every ounce of self-control it had just to keep itself from charging in the bars and reaching out to grab Naruto. He didn't know if the beast wanted to eat him or kill him, but he knew that there was no lost love between the two. Or would there be ever in the future? So you finally come. I was wondering when you'd get close enough to dying for this. The fox spoke, its voice a deep growl. It is nice to finally meet you at last, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto gulped, trying not to look like he was scared. But he was pretty sure that the shaking in his legs was a dead giveaway. Who are you? The stutter was probably a giveaway too. Your savior. The fox seemed to enjoy saying it, almost seeming to taste it after having said it. Naruto tilted his head to the side. Then his eyes turned cold. The fox startled, taking its head off of its paws crossed in front of its chest. You're mine, aren't you? Naruto held out a hand. The fox growled. Shut up, Naruto whispered. The fox's eyes got wide and it stopped growling completely in shock. Your power, the blonde began to walk towards the cage. Since you're mine, I'm assuming that even that belongs to me? The fox narrowed his eyes. Is it power that you want? I want the power to be able to protect myself, and those who are like me. Naruto stood right in front of the cage. Can you do it, demon? Naruto spat the word like a curse. That completely depends on you. Red chakra began to leak out of the cage, whirling around Naruto's feet. The 9-year-old looked down. Do you think you can take it? Get on with it. The demon's eyes began to glow with excitement. What little light that revealed the fox's body disappeared, submerging both the boy and a demon. Naruto closed his eyes as the bars began to lose form, and saw only one source of light remaining. The demon's red eyes staring right into Naruto's blue. My pleasure. Naruto opened his eye, escaping from the trance of nostalgia. He surveyed the forest once more, looking for the person that he was tracking. It didn't take too long. The person had moved closer while Naruto had been reminiscing, and the scent was a lot stronger. He kicked off against the tree, flipping once and landing on the ground. He ran towards where he was getting the scent from, practically flying across the forest. It didn't take him long to find the hunter Nin. To his surprise, the demon had been right. It was a girl. The girl had flowing brown hair that hung down to the lower part of her back. She had dark eyes. She wore a pink kimono-like dress that hung down to her legs. The girl was crouched picking herbs from the ground. But Naruto didn't miss the sudden tension in her shoulders. Naruto screamed as he leapt into the air and flipped once, bringing his heel down on the girl, black chakra outlining his foot. The girl dodged easily and Naruto's foot hit the ground where she had been rummaging. The ground didn't do a silly thing like explode, but the place where Naruto made contact with his heel caved inwards, creating a crater. The girl's arms blurred and Naruto heard the sound of weapons being thrown. He crossed his palms in front of him, their movement leaving trails of black chakra behind. The black chakra acted as a shield, catching all the Senbon. Seeing this, the girl's arm blurred once more time. There was a loud sound of metal hitting metal. The girl's eyes widened in shock. Naruto caught the last Senbon in his teeth. He spat to the side, blood and metal coming out at the same time. Finally, I was starting to think that I was mistaken. He crouched and picked up a Senbon, twirling the needle in his hand before flicking it towards her. The girl caught the needle out of midair, gripping it in the middle. She flung it right back at Naruto, saying, "How did you know I was here?" Naruto caught it out of the midair and stood up. "I could smell you." He narrowed his eyes and threw the needle back at her. However, instead of sending it straight back, he sent it whirling end over end in a vertical spin. "Your name?" She grabbed it, impressing the blonde. "Uzumaki Naruto." The blonde tensed, getting ready to rush towards the girl. "Haku." She cocked her head to the side. "You could tell who I am from the smell?" "The bump on your forehead, the makeup isn't heavy enough to cover it." The blonde's feet began to leak darkness. "I owe you one from last time." Haku narrowed her eyes. "Then why don't you come here and repay me?" Naruto didn't even say anything, launching himself towards Haku. The mist hunter Nin flipped backwards into the air, sending a barrage of Senbon towards the blonde. Naruto dodged each one, his speed enhanced by the black chakra on his feet. Haku stuck to the tree and began to throw needle after needle. Naruto channeled chakra to his hands, covering his palm with darkness. He began to knock the Senbon down one by one as he steadily made his way towards the tree. Haku took out a Senbon in each hand, preparing himself for Naruto to run up the tree and engage him. Naruto did no such thing. The blonde, once he was near the tree, spun and kicked the tree squarely on the trunk, his back towards the tree. Haku's eyes widened and forced more chakra as he felt the tree shake. Naruto didn't stop after one kick, and this time kicked the trunk with his shin from the side. Haku heard the sound of the trunk screaming. Naruto yelled and kicked the tree on the same side once more, and this time there was more than a groan from the tree. The tree exploded as Naruto's shadow-covered leg came out through the other side. Splinters flew through the air, and the tree began to topple over, ripped from its lower base. Haku leaped off of the trunk before it could squash him like a bug. Naruto appeared right in front of him. Haku stabbed towards Naruto with the senbon in his hands while with his other he flicked his wrist throwing it towards the blonde's forehead. Naruto's face jerked upwards and caught the senbon in his teeth. Naruto dodged the stab by stepping sideways, placing Haku's forearm in between his elbow and his knee. Then he broke it. Haku didn't even scream, and with his other arm he smacked Naruto across the face with a chakra-enhanced back fist, sending Naruto flying spinning sideways. The blonde landed on the ground rolling a couple of times before somersaulting backwards and getting to his feet again, the senbon still in between his teeth like a cigarette. Haku leaped away from Naruto, one arm hanging limply. "He's stronger than me," Haku grimaced, vowing not to scream as even the slightest movement sent a sharp pain up his arm. "He's dangerous if we were near a source of water or anything at least." Naruto spun sideways, bringing his torso to the ground and lifting his leg up. He caught Haku right on his Adam's apple. Haku staggered a few steps back, clutching his throat with one arm. Naruto continued to spin and slammed Haku's temple with a palm strike, sending the mist ninja reeling back once more. He continued with his momentum and landed a mule kick to Haku's stomach, this time sending him flying away. Haku skidded along the ground, wincing with pain. "I have to escape." Naruto kicked the ground, flipping forward and landing a heel kick on Haku's shoulder. However, the mist nin turned his torso sideways, dodging the strike. When Naruto's heel hit the ground, black chakra exploded outwards, creating a large crater. Haku's eyes went wide. Naruto spat the senbon. That was his mistake. Haku ducked underneath and brought his shoulder up to the senbon's trajectory. With deadly accuracy, Haku jerked forward and managed to get the senbon to dig itself into a precise pressure point on his shoulder. The pain stopped. Haku swung his broken arm, smacking Naruto's cheek with the back of his hand. The blonde flew back, whirling end over end. He saw a tree from the corner of his eye and reached out with a foot, stomping the tree and completely reversing his momentum. He flipped once, landing on both feet, his arm bent at the elbow and his fists on either side of him. The one called Haku was gone. The Kyuubi laughed. "Uhuhuhu, seems like the whelp has gotten away." The blonde put his nose to the air and sniffed. Only the lingering scent of flowers remained with no direction. He looked around him and saw the various senbons scattered around the area. He glanced at the place where the shinobi had been and saw her clothing there instead. "She thinks fast. Looks like you have finally met your match." Naruto ignored the comment. "Can you sense her?" There was silence for a moment where the fox's consciousness receded. When it resurfaced again, it was as if a whale had broken the surface of an ocean, putting a metaphorical weight on Naruto's mind. The blonde grimaced but did not comment on it. "Her chakra's gone almost. It's very faint and growing more faint by the second. She's most likely out of reach for you." Something like enjoyment entered its voice. "You have yet to learn how to walk on trees. There is no way you can catch up to her." While the fox had been talking, Naruto walked over to the scattered clothing and basket containing the plants. He knelt down and rummaged around, taking a scrap of clothing and putting it to his nose. The blonde knew if anyone saw him at that moment, he'd be mistaken for an outright pervert. But he ignored that thought and put the scrap of cloth back down, rummaging around her belongings. The blonde frowned, finding a book hidden beneath. The blonde opened the book. The fox hissed. "What's wrong?" He held the book in his grasp, flipping it open. "The book is cursed," he muttered. "You'd best drop it." Naruto rolled his eyes and looked at the pictures. He frowned. He flipped the pages over, finding the same picture over and over again. "What is this?" Each page contained a picture of the human body. Each picture contained points and lines extending from those points of the body, explaining it in detail. Though each page had the same body featured as the picture, it had different points outlined in the pages. Naruto began to flip the pages faster and faster, seeing the points on the body vary in size and thickness as well as area. Some of them were different colors, as if they were placed at a different depth. He continued to flip the pages until the fox growled within him once more. "It is a remnant of the past of your kind, brat." "Explain." "In the past, your ninja arts were not so refined." The fox seemed to be uncomfortable. They needed a way to learn more about their anatomy. There was a clan in the Far East where they studied this. Not only for medical reasons but for other rather sinister reasons as well. "They were studying," Naruto muttered slowly, "on ways to kill." "Yes," the fox paused. "There's more. That clan became so well versed in their arts that it is said that they ceased to be human. They were considered to be gods. They would kill with a touch and revive with another. They had played with the powers of creation, something that no mortal could hope to play with and remain sane." "What happened to the clan and how did they conduct these researches?" "No one knows," the demon continued. That book is most likely one of the only remaining relics of their legacy. As for how they conducted these researches, you can probably feel it by now. That book is the embodiment of lust for power, greed, and the suffering of 1,000 souls and more. Do you not feel them? Naruto did feel them. That scared him. Since we made the contract, the fox's voice was deceptively low. My senses should have been enhancing your own. Not only physical but mental as well. You are now more attuned to nature, the spiritual aspect of this world. So should I just burn the book? Naruto narrowed his eyes and looked in the direction where Haku had left. And what's that girl doing with something like this? If it could have been burned, it would not be here by now, the fox growled. That girl has most likely deciphered the very recent pages of the book where the language is closest to your own. As if to confirm this, Naruto flipped to the last pages. Sure enough, the language turned back into something he was familiar with again. But as he flipped back, they began to warp, looking more crude yet sophisticated at the same time. He could still make out a couple of words but not whole sentences. As he got closer to the beginning, it literally became gibberish to him, and more of the points began to turn black. It is fate that the book has ended up in your hands. The Kyuubi muttered quietly. It has chosen you, or so it seems. You cannot leave it here, brat, or some other poor soul will get sucked into its games. And I won't? Naruto snarled angrily. The fox remained silent. The blonde put the book in his pocket, making sure no one else was watching. Then he went back to where he came from to learn how to walk on trees. You're here. The Sandaime watched as his former student walked through the door. His student was no longer the small rowdy kid that he remembered so fondly. Then again, he'd stopped being that kid long time ago. However, he had still remained the set of morals, the promise that he made to himself as a kid, which had dictated how his life had turned out to be. He'd turned into a splendid shinobi. Sarutobi couldn't be prouder. Jiraiya stood as a man well over 6 feet. He was wider than most ninjas as well. He had a large wart on his nose, though it didn't make him look uglier or anything. Rather, from what he knew, as Jiraiya got older, he became a rather popular man. He knew how to talk and how to compliment others, not with empty words devoid of any meaning but with words that came from his heart. But that was just the type of man Jiraiya was, someone who lived according to how his heart told him to live. You called sensei? Jiraiya had a large smile on his face. Though Sarutobi knew that he must have been exhausted from the trip, he hid it well. I want you to test out something. The third Hokage didn't waste any time in handing a stack of papers to the Sannin. Jiraiya walked a few steps closer to the desk and took the paper from him gently, reading it over and quickly flipping each page after another. What is this? Jiraiya looked at Sarutobi, his eyes wide. You're sure? The Sandaime nodded, taking a drag from his pipe. This doesn't make any sense. Jiraiya ran a hand over his hair, feeling it bristle under his touch. He should have died then. Apparently not. The Sandaime grunted. I think it has to do with the fact that he's a member of the Uzumaki clan. Both Mito and Kushina had special types of chakra, which is why they were chosen. Mito and Kushina's chakra kept the Kyuubi's chakra in check? Jiraiya seemed to be fascinated. Their chakra never reacted with it. He flipped the paper again a few times. His chakra. It's 100 times more dense than other people's chakra, even without elemental or shape manipulation. Sarutobi summed up the paper. Because of its density, simply producing it allows it to have physical aspects. There has been other aspects as well. It specifically targets chakra, though to a minimal degree. It also explodes on contact with any other types of material, said Jiraiya. Whether it be other people's chakra, fabric, earth, or anything else at all. The man looked at the Sandaime. Rather than call it pure chakra, it's more like an element unto itself. Sandaime nodded. Jiraiya finally took a seat on the chair, looking over the forms in his hand once more. So what would you have me do? Study it, the third Hokage ordered. I need to get me some old records of ninja from Yuzushiogakure no Sato. Jiraiya pursed his lips. That'll be hard. The village is gone, not to mention most of their libraries were destroyed precisely because they didn't want other ninja to find their manuscripts. There should be some type of genealogy book left over, Sarutobi muttered. We're not looking for sealing methods. We're looking for records of ninja who had similar chakra to Naruto in the Uzumaki clan. The Uzumaki clan was reputed as the ones who were the closest to the Senju clan, known for possessing unique types of chakra. Jiraiya cleared his throat. Their clan was destroyed almost a century ago. I'm not sure if any records out there survived. I need to know. The Sandaime put down his pipe and stapled his fingers. Know what? I do not know much about Kushina, the Sandaime began. But I do know a bit about Mitosama, the Kyuubi's first host. Jiraiya listened, crossing his arms. Though unclear, Sarutobi took out another stack of papers and began to flip them over once more, glancing at them though he knew the contents by heart already. It is said that being the Kyuubi's first Jinchuriki granted her some unusual powers. Such abilities included a long life and an increase in sensitivity. Increase in sensitivity? Jiraiya got a perverted image. Quit that, the Hokage snapped, bringing his student back to reality. Jiraiya coughed and sat up a bit straighter in his seat. The unique thing wasn't that she could just sense chakra, but she could sense emotion as well. Jiraiya frowned. You mean? A living lie detector, someone who could detect people not just by their chakra but by their thoughts. Sarutobi looked at the Sannin. An ability that came as a result of the Kyuubi's chakra and her chakra. It is known that most hosts gets a sense of increased senses depending on their beast. Jiraiya muttered. There is not much data on the matter of the Jinchuriki, but I know for certain that things such as increased sense of hearing, scent, and even sight might be possible. Yes. The Sandaime closed his eyes and nodded. If you could get me information about other Jinchuriki as well. Jiraiya stood up and turned around as if to leave, then hesitated. Is he doing well? Sarutobi opened his eyes. Somehow Jiraiya's shoulders seemed so much narrower by that simple question. It looked as if he had the weight of the whole world on his shoulders. You still blame yourself? Sarutobi shook his head. He hasn't had the best of childhoods, but to my belief, he's been doing fine. He's a bit cold, but I believe placing him under Kakashi's tutelage was the right choice. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. I would have given him to someone like Asuma. But you're not the Hokage. The Sandaime interrupted. Yet. I have no intention of being the Hokage. Jiraiya began to walk out. Jiraiya. The man paused. Don't you want to see him? Jiraiya hesitated before answering. Seeing the son of his student, someone whom he considered to be his own son. Minato was an orphan and had trusted Jiraiya as if he would his own father. Jiraiya was at the age where he was more interested in polishing people who were young and seeing the next generation of Konoha. He found that talent and willingness in Minato. The two had grown close to each other, as if they really had been father and son. And Jiraiya had abandoned him. He had abandoned his student. He had abandoned his son. He had abandoned the child that should have been the village hero. He was a coward and nothing more. I don't deserve to see him. Jiraiya spat those words like a curse, and the Sandaime felt the self-disgust and hatred rolling off of them in waves. If I can get the information about other Jinchuriki and the Uzumaki clan, maybe if he can forgive me, then I'll go to him. Jiraiya opened the door and left. He still blames himself for not being able to take care of the boy. The Sandaime sighed and looked at the ceiling. Naruto, I wonder what you're doing now. Naruto was eating like a pig. Tsunami, Tazuna, and Inari stared surprised by the blonde's eating habits. It had been a couple of days since they began the tree walking training. Both Sasuke and Naruto had finished to a point where it satisfied Kakashi. It was the last day before the whole team would move out to protect Tazuna on the bridge at the same time. The blonde ate whatever that he touched, whether it was rice or a side dish. Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi was used to seeing the blonde's table manners. They ate their food calmly, keeping their bowls close. Kakashi had already finished his meal and just sat at the table watching his students. Sakura ate sparingly, thinking about the future and the success of this mission. Sasuke ate almost as fast as Naruto, though not nearly as messy. They finished the meal and Naruto slumped back in his seat, patting his stomach. How's training going, guys? Tazuna smiled at them, happy to just have a lot of people over at his house. It had been a long time since he had guests, and having 3 additional kids in the house gave him the false illusion of prosperity in his country. It seems, Kakashi drawled, that Sakura is the most talented of the 3. His single eye turned into an upside-down U. Isn't that right, Sakura? The girl nodded, glancing at her teammates. Sasuke seemed pissed off about the comment, but Naruto ignored it completely, looking up at the ceiling. Well, Tazuna missed the Uchiha's reaction. It's really great having strong ninjas such as yourselves here to protect us until the bridge is finished. Yes, it is. Tsunami smiled at them, handing out cups of tea. Don't you think so, Inari? The boy wore a white hat with 2 blue stripes on it. He wore a beige shirt with a large round collar and an overall over it. He had been sullen throughout the whole meal, only taking a bite or 2. His bowl in front of him was nearly full. Sakura had noticed that during the whole meal he had been glaring at the 3 in turn, never getting rid of that brooding light in his eyes. It's useless. Sasuke looked up, his eyes filled with sudden attention. The blonde halted from looking up at the ceiling and looked at Inari instead. Even Kakashi's smile melted off of his face. Sakura gasped a little softly. Inari. Tsunami immediately reprimanded him. What are you? It's true, Inari screamed, closing his eyes and clenching his fists. Gato's just going to kill him. They're just going to end up dead. Inari. Tsunami began again. That's enough. I'm just saying what needs to be. Coward. Inari turned towards Naruto. What? He whispered. I was the same kind as you. Naruto whispered, his voice just as low. A coward. But you know what the difference between me and you is? Naruto continued ignoring Inari's look. I never gave up. I never put my tail in between my legs like a defeated dog and turned over to show my belly in submission, Naruto snarled. I never gave up even if it meant that I was bloodied and beaten. Even if it meant that I would be killed, I never gave up. That's the difference between me and you. Naruto got up from his chair and left. Inari looked down at his hands. Gee, giving up, never giving up even if you're going to be killed. Kakashi looked at the blonde's back. Naruto. Naruto was studying the book in the room. The back of the page had to do with pressure points on a person's body. The person's body was spread apart as if it was on a dissection board, arms and legs spread wide. The genital area was void of anything. Other pages had both pictures of men and women and held different pressure points. But this one featured only one picture. Naruto read the letters and the corresponding pressure points, which were surprisingly easy to memorize. He wondered if this was what the hunter Nin had used to put Zabuza down in what Kakashi called fake death. You are only touching the tip of the iceberg, whelp. Naruto narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? The book is much more sinister than just fake death, the fox commented. I advise you not to take it lightly. But the language as you go near the beginning of the book, thought Naruto. That is for you to figure out. I guess I'll have to visit the library back in Konoha. The blonde looked at the picture one more time before folding the book and putting it back in his shirt near his chest. He closed his eyes and lay down, folding his arms above his head. He was currently not too far from Tazuna's house, laying down on the grassy area. The sun had already passed and the moon was obscured by clouds. He heard a familiar footstep enter the clearing. What is it? Sasuke looked at the ground sheepishly. You left so suddenly, I didn't get to ask this before. Naruto stayed quiet, listening. Can you fight me one more time? Naruto sat up, looking at Sasuke with a tilt to his head. What? Sasuke swallowed. I said, he muttered, getting into his stance. Fight me one more time. Naruto pulled a knee close to his chest regarding the Uchiha. Something about him seemed different, resigned somehow. Naruto opened and closed his fist a few times, starting to feel his blood boil. To him, fighting wasn't entertainment or enjoyment, it was to survive and nothing else. To fight, it was to kill or be killed. Naruto regarded Sasuke, wondering what was going through his head. Naruto cast out a hand and flicked his fingers a couple of times, giving Sasuke the go-ahead. Sasuke didn't waste the opportunity that Naruto granted him. He leaped backwards at the same time that Naruto seemed to lurch forward, rushing towards the Uchiha. The Rookie of the Year formed hand seals blazingly fast. Before, Naruto's speed had been able to keep him from using the hand seals. But this time Naruto had started while sitting down. In normal circumstances, Naruto was a lot faster, but this gave Sasuke the edge he needed to use his ninjutsu. Katan, Hausenka no Jutsu. Sasuke put a hand to his mouth and began to blow in short, controlled breaths, shooting out multiple fist-sized balls of flame. Naruto drew back his left foot and planted the toe on the ground a bit behind him. He pivoted using his right foot, drawing a perfect semicircle on the ground in front of him. But that wasn't all. As he spun, his left foot released black chakra in an upwards arc that flew towards the blasts of flame. The chakra washed away the flames, revealing the shuriken within. The shockwave of chakra caused the fire to dissipate and washed over Sasuke as well. The Uchiha expected this and crossed his arms in front of him, riding the wave and skidding backwards. Naruto was suddenly in front of him. Sasuke cursed inwardly. Shit. Naruto hooked Sasuke's arms with the crook of his knee and lowered his leg, lowering the Uchiha's arms as a result. Naruto's other leg was raised into the air as soon as his hook leg touched the ground. He leaped up with it, bringing the knee of his other leg on the back of Sasuke's neck. The Uchiha reeled against the blow, his torso lowering dangerously low to the ground. However, Sasuke had used the moment that Naruto had lowered his arms to drew two kunai. He flicked them from behind his back, sending them towards the blonde's face. Naruto reeled back, barely dodging the pair of kunai. He used his knee on the back of Sasuke's neck to press down harder, spinning over Sasuke's body and landing on the other side facing the sky. Naruto, while his torso was bent nearly 9 degrees backwards, brought his right arm up in a fist with only his index finger pointed towards Sasuke. The finger entered a spot near his shoulder and chest. Sasuke spun, leaping away in the opposite direction. Naruto did not give chase, watching the Uchiha regain his breath. The blonde looked at where he had drawn the arc, noticing a big groove there. The technique had been something he had been working on lately. He knew that his black chakra was dense enough to not just channel in his legs but to shoot it out afterwards. Naruto had drawn the groove in the ground to help channel his chakra in the right direction. It helped to stabilize his leg and foot. Sasuke gasped and then widened his eyes. His right arm wasn't moving. Rather, he couldn't feel it. He looked at his right arm to find it hanging there limply as if it didn't belong to him. No matter how much Sasuke tried to move it, the arm simply refused to budge. He even tried to channel chakra into it but could not feel any response. He looked at the blonde. When did he learn that ranged attack with the chakra, and now this? He's completely erased his weakness against ranged attacks. Sasuke gulped. He's gotten further away from me once more. Naruto turned around. I believe we're done here. Naruto left, leaving the kneeling Uchiha looking at his hand. Sasuke stared at the receding blonde's back until it disappeared into the darkness of the night. To Sasuke it seemed as if the shadows willingly wrapped themselves around Naruto, lapping at his entire existence, as if they were hungering beasts salivating and wrapping their fangs and lips around a much-wanted morsel. Sasuke knelt in the grass for a bit longer, then fell on his butt, sitting down and rubbing his right arm with his left. It did not take long before intense pain began to invade his right arm. The Uchiha hissed but did not scream. He massaged his right arm gently as the waves of pain rolled off of his arm. Kakashi plopped himself down next to Sasuke, startling the young Uchiha. So you challenged him again? Kakashi glanced at Sasuke's arm. What's this? Sasuke did not answer. Instead, he glared in the general direction of Naruto's path once more. Kakashi allowed silence to reign, choosing not to speak and simply offer the Uchiha progenitor his presence as a comfort. The two Sharingan wielders stayed like that next to each other. It was a long night, broken only by the sound of Sasuke's sobs. Naruto stood in front of a cage. As always, the room itself was dark, the walls at the side and the ceiling shrouded in darkness. The pathway behind him was formed of pipes upon even more pipes of carrying sizes. But the blonde did not glance back. In front of him lay the cage for his keeper, a simple tag posted on the middle of the bars. Naruto walked towards it gladly, stopping only a few distance away from it. The Kyuubi opened a single eye, shining brightly with blood-red pigment. What do you wish for, brat? Here to collect on my contract with you from years ago. Naruto muttered. I need your help. The Kyuubi raised its head with interest, raising its head a bit in interest. What you want is not something I can give you, whelp. Naruto narrowed his eyes. The fox had already presumed that this day would come. Truthfully, he had been surprised that the blonde had lived as long as he did. If Minato, the fourth Hokage, had sealed the fox and anyone else, they would have died from the corrosive effects of the Kyuubi's chakra. The Yondaime had forgotten to seal half of Kyuubi's chakra within himself as he died. As a result, it constantly leaked through the seal. But Naruto, as someone of the Uzumaki clan, turned out to have inherited the unique traits of his clan as well. His chakra absorbed Kyuubi's chakra as soon as the two clashed, forming some kind of hybrid between the two. It was either evil as the Kyuubi's chakra, or pure as human chakra. It was something else. The Kyuubi stared at his host, knowing that Naruto already knew he was lying. What do you have in mind, whelp? Naruto nodded, satisfied. I need eyes like the one my teacher has. He took out a book from the folds of his clothes. They both knew it wasn't real, but it was a testament that Naruto already considered the book to be something that was a part of himself. The book can't be read with simple eyes, the Kyuubi growled, cocking its head to the side, regarding the book. Naruto thought he saw a hint of disgust in the demon's voice, but he ignored it. You need knowledge to go along with it. Naruto stayed silent, listening. The Kyuubi considered his options. He could give Naruto some form of the Sharingan, but he was not sure how effective it would be. He didn't really want to explain the origin of ninja arts, and why he could not give him the eye. Also, simply giving Naruto the eyes would result in unforeseen consequences. As much as the fox hated his captor and the world, he didn't want to give Naruto a power that would give leverage over him. Judging by how Naruto's chakra had reacted with his chakra, most likely the eye would be some type of mutation between the two as well. The Kyuubi considered the cursed book in Naruto's hand. The blonde couldn't see it. But he could. The book seemed to have countless, hundreds and thousands of tiny tentacles. But if one would look closely, these tentacles were actually in the form of a torso of a human. Each of them couldn't be told apart from the other. Due to the years they had spent and the torture that they had undergone through life, they possessed a singularity. Now they were one, simply having two black holes for eyes and a larger one for their mouths. Their arms were rounded, either swaying with the non-existent wind or holding their cheeks as if scared or shocked of something. There was a hollow wounding wail of 1,000 souls in the air. The Kyuubi hated it. But he felt as this was fate and destiny. I'll give you the eyes, and in those eyes the knowledge needed to read that book. The Kyuubi hesitated. But I will lock the knowledge and only give it to you in bits and pieces. Naruto shook his head. What's the point of? I have made a contract with you to give you power as an equal, the Kyuubi bristled. Do not question me. He spat. The blonde nodded. Then take this as a gift. 2 arms, entirely too humanoid to make Naruto feel comfortable, shot out of the bars covered with red fur. Naruto instinctively tried to dodge, but the hands were too fast. He felt them grab his eyeballs. He felt them grab his eyes. He felt the fingers wiggle in through whatever space he had in between his skull and his round orbs. It was a feeling of perversion, as if something most sacred and treasured within himself had been tainted and touched. He heard screaming in his ears and realized that it was his own. He felt the pressure within his eyes build up until he realized that the hands were squeezing. He felt something pop. Naruto awoke with a start. He looked out the window to see the sun way overhead. The blonde felt the warm air on his skin. It wasn't the cool air of the morning mixing with the heat of the sun. The heat had already overcome the coolness of moisture and was well on its way to frying everything underneath it to a crisp. Naruto rubbed his forehead with the back of his hand, and it came away slick with sweat. He shook his head, clearing himself of the after effects of both sleep and the horrifying dream. He put a hand to his eye multiple times to check to see if they were still there. Hey fox, Naruto called inside his head. Silence reigned. So you have no intention of talking to me right now? Naruto sighed, pushed the blankets aside, finding a pile of clothes next to where he was sleeping. Instead of his black hoodie stained with blood and blue pants, he found a miniature version of an ANBU's outfit minus the vest. It was black that ended at the shoulders with gloves that came up above his elbows. There were ninja sandals with bandage-like appendages that came up below his knees. The pants were long and gray, ending at his ankles, and Naruto spied a roll of bandages to wrap it around his shin. He looked at the small note placed next to his clothing. To Naruto. New clothes. Kakashi. There was a little cartoon drawing of Kakashi smiling and his hands held up in the victory sign. Naruto stared at the note, then crumpled it up, throwing it aside to the corner of the room. He held up the shirt and put his nose to it, taking in the scent. The smell of new clothing assaulted his enhanced senses. Naruto debated not putting on the clothing, then shrugged, pulling the shirt over his torso. He heard screaming as he finished bandaging up his legs. Naruto wasted no time. Naruto leaped out of the window, sending pieces of glass flying everywhere. He flipped in the air once before landing on the ground, already having absorbed what was happening while in midair. 2 samurais held Tsunami captive, one of them holding Tsunami by the hair. One had bluish-white hair with a black hat over his head. He seemed to have some kind of tattoo lines below his eyes. He wore a blue jacket and held a blue-handled katana. His partner was a lot larger than his partner, both vertically and in terms of muscle. He wore an eye patch over his right eye and wore his hair in 3 elaborate topknots. He left his torso bare, wearing a big kimono. He held a sword that was longer than his teammate. And Naruto. Naruto didn't need to look behind him to know that Inari had been crying. Look! The one with the hat pointed at Naruto with his sword. A little kid playing ninja. Who are they, Inari? Naruto ignored the 2 samurai. They're Gato's bodyguards. Inari explained while sobbing. Strangely, the panic in his heart had subsided as soon as Naruto appeared. He didn't particularly like the blonde, but something about him just radiated solidness. Just the fact that Naruto had spoken gave the boy a sense that everything was going to be alright. Take Inari and get away from here, Naruto. Tsunami muttered, struggling against her captor's grip. Shut up. The one with the eye patch muttered. He drew his sword, handing the struggling woman over to his partner. Hold her, Zora. He licked his lips. I'm going to chop this boy up. Stay back, Inari. Naruto lowered his stance, bending his legs and putting one palm on the ground below his chest. His other hand went behind his back. The blonde began to leak black chakra from his body, sending trails of black smoke into the air. Hey Waraji, the one called Zora muttered. Naruto moved. The blonde covered the distance in one jump, turning around and kicking backwards with a foot. Waraji swung downwards with his sword, attempting to slice the blonde in two. Naruto completed his spin, sending an arc of black chakra at the samurai. Waraji was lifted off of his feet as the chakra washed over his sword and his chest. It slammed him against a tree, knocking the man unconscious. Naruto landed and looked at the terrified samurai. His feet began to leak black chakra. Stop! Zora screamed. Don't come over here or I'll. Naruto appeared in front of the samurai and stabbed him with one finger right in the shoulder. Numbness came over Zora's arm and the samurai was forced to release Tsunami, who quickly went over to her son. You won't be able to use that arm for 2 hours, Naruto muttered. His eyes widened. But you don't have 2 hours. Naruto spun on his heel, facing backwards, and launched his foot into Zora's chin, launching the samurai into the air, black chakra washing the air above them. Zora landed on the ground unconscious. Naruto looked at Tsunami and Inari, his gaze cold. Thank you? Inari muttered while Tsunami clung to him, holding the boy in her grasp. Naruto didn't reply. He had a place to be. Sasuke clashed against the masked ninja. Your eyes, Haku muttered to him, pushing his Senbon against Sasuke's kunai. They're just like mine. Sasuke snarled and in a sudden burst of chakra pushed the mist ninja away from him. Sasuke threw his kunai, immediately following up with hand seals. Haku knocked away Sasuke's kunai with the Senbon in her hand and formed hand seals using the other. Sasuke noted this but did not react, redoubling the speed of his hand seals. Fast. Haku doubled the speed of her own hand seals as well. Sasuke finished his jutsu first. He put a hand to his mouth and breathed a large fireball into life, firing it towards the mist ninja. It hit Haku and exploded. Sasuke breathed heavily, looking at the remains of the fire, an ash cloud that the explosion had created. Most of the ground was on fire, along with a few senbons and kunai strewn about. He wiped the sweat off of his forehead, considering his options. He could go back and help Sakura, or he could go and help Kakashi in his battle against Zabuza. He definitely found the latter more appealing, but knew deep down that he would just be a pest in that battle. He would have to survey the situation first, and only jump in if there was an opening, and no danger of him creating an opening for Zabuza by having Kakashi save him. Sasuke turned around. Senbons whistled through the air. Sasuke rolled forward and grabbing 2 kunai in one hand from the holster on his thigh. He came up on one knee and turned his torso, throwing the 2 kunai behind him and knocking the senbons out of the air. His eyes widened. 1,000 long needles made of water surrounded him, leaving no space for escape. Secret technique, Haku whispered. She rose out of a puddle of water somewhere behind Sasuke, her face downcast and mask shrouded in shadow, her posture relaxed, looking like the god of death himself. 1,000 flying needles of death. The needles sped towards the Uchiha, making the air hum with their chakra. Sasuke channeled all his chakra to his legs, his left hand clutched into a single hand seal to help with his concentration. The other one dipped into the holster on his thigh. The needles exploded into water as they collided with one another at the space where Sasuke had been. Haku somersaulted backwards as shuriken hit the ground where she had been. Haku continued to leap away as barrages of shuriken continued to follow her, stabbing themselves into the ground. She finally flicked her wrist, feeling a senbon in her grip. Instead of dodging the next shuriken missile, she blocked it, sending it spinning end over end towards the side. Haku didn't stop there. She lifted her arm, putting her hand behind her head and using the senbon in that hand to block the kunai that Sasuke had just tried to stab her with. Zabuza and Kakashi were in a similar situation. Kakashi held a single kunai in each hand and had crossed themselves in front of him, blocking the monstrous blade that Zabuza favored so much. They stared at each other from behind their respective weapons, their eyes meeting and getting the measure for each other's strengths. Your brat is pretty good, Zabuza spoke through the bandages wrapped around his mouth. For a brat, that is. Kakashi didn't smile, but a playful tone entered his voice. Sasuke, he grunted, is the #1 rookie of the village. Sakura is the brightest, and well, I believe that Naruto is the one ninja that you won't underestimate out of all of them. Zabuza narrowed his eyes. Remember the day Haku came back with a broken arm. It had set their plan back a couple of days, something that had annoyed Gato greatly. Gato had badgered him in return, and Zabuza had considered killing the man a few times as well. "Oh, I won't," Zabuza promised. "Then let's pick this up before he gets here," Kakashi whispered. As if on cue, the two Jounin-level ninja pushed at the same time, leaping away a few feet in the opposite direction. Kakashi immediately threw both kunai towards the missed Jounin. Zabuza swung his sword sideways, hitting the kunai precisely on their point with the blade edge. He held up a hand seal and began to spin his sword with one hand. A humming sound began to fill the air, growing louder and louder. Kakashi found himself drawn to the noise. A kunai embedded itself in his forehead. Kakashi spun around, put out a palm as the real kunai entered it with the sound of metal entering flesh. He winced but focused on the pain, attempting to block out the humming sound produced by Zabuza's sword. The mist began to roll in like rain clouds of a storm, thickening the area with heavy moisture and reduced visibility. "I see." Kakashi took the mist kunai out of his palm. It was different than the standard Konoha kunai. It was long, but near the handle there was another protrusion forming a jagged edge. It made the kunai look a lot more sinister than others. By using the hidden mist technique, he reduces visibility. At the same time, he starts to produce that loud humming noise which is infused with his chakra. Most ninja use hearing at the first sign of reduced visibility, and by creating that noise he cancels out any enhanced hearing the opponent might have. Also, by infusing the mist and sound with his chakra and killing intent, he's able to create short-lasting genjutsu. It shouldn't get me as long as I keep my guard up, but in a constant battle like this one. Kakashi felt a dozen kunai enter his head, his torso and his legs. "Kai!" Kakashi muttered, holding up two fingers in a hand seal. He ducked immediately, dodging Zabuza's swing. Zabuza continued the swing, stabbing the ground with the sword, and used the momentum to bring his legs into the air towards Kakashi's face. Kakashi crossed his arms in front of him and grunted. Zabuza grinned through the bandages as his feet slammed into Kakashi's hands, one of them still housing the wound from the earlier kunai. Kakashi stifled back a scream and pushed with the hand, almost losing consciousness from the pain in his hand. Zabuza completed the spin and leaped away from the clash, spinning his sword and filling the mist with the humming noise once more. Kakashi breathed heavily. "Naruto, we could really use you here." Sasuke leaned backwards, dodging Haku's Saban barrage. He crossed his arms in front of him, sending two kunai sailing through the air in response. Haku took out another Saban from her sleeves, knocking the two away. She launched herself towards the Uchiha as he began to form hand seals. "Fire release," Sasuke muttered, clenching his teeth. Haku noticed something catching light near him. He was preparing for this. "Dragon fire." Sasuke breathed, and a stream of fire seemed to catch light in front of him. Haku noticed the dozen wires tied around the shuriken and kunai that were stabbed into the ground and the supports of the bridge, surrounding him in all angles. The wires were ignited almost instantly, and fire covered the wires before they converged into one big storm, burning everything to a crisp. Sasuke watched as the flames flickered along the ground, evaporating the puddles on the ground and sending up steam into the air. He felt the temperature rise from the fire technique and felt the tension leave him as he saw the area where Haku had been. The ground was blackened in a large area, with some of the cement actually showing signs of melting. There was no way for Haku to have escaped it. Sasuke relaxed, feeling the rush of battle leave him. It's a bit too early to be relaxing. Sasuke leaped away, entering the ring of flames and allowing himself to be a bit singed from the flames of his own technique. He spun, watching in horror. "Don't you think?" A giant slab of ice, far wider and taller than Sasuke or even Kakashi and Zabuza, began to rise out of the puddle on the ground behind him. It reminded Sasuke of a giant mirrors that they used to have in the house when he was a kid, except it was a lot larger and colder than that. Sasuke watched as more and more mirrors of ice began to rise around him, effectively surrounding him and creating a dome around him. Haku entered into one of the mirrors from behind his body, becoming two-dimensional. Every single mirror reflected an image of the kunoichi. When she spoke, it sounded as if multiple people were speaking, her voice layered and sounding demonic in a way. "Demonic mirroring ice crystals," Haku whispered. Sasuke gulped. "I'm out of chakra." And fresh out of tricks, Naruto, Kakashi thought as Zabuza began to bombard him with both real attacks and genjutsu attacks using the mist and the humming sound as his cover. "Where are you?" It wasn't like Haku was moving fast. No. It was like she was teleporting. Sasuke kneeled on the ground on his knees, acting as a pin cushion for Haku. He imagined that this was what his shuriken and kunai practice targets must have felt like. He was helpless in the face of Haku's speed. Sasuke tried to analyze the technique. The first thing that he had found out was that Haku's speed depended on the mirrors and the full effect of these ice mirrors depended on their number. The second thing that Sasuke realized was that these mirrors were immune to any type of technique he could use. He had tried fire release techniques to a barrage of kunai and shuriken. The ice was harder than steel and cold enough to avoid melting from the heat of Sasuke's fire techniques. Not only that, but the mirrors had actually caused the area to start snowing as all moisture in the atmosphere was frozen over as heat continued to be sucked up by the mirrors. The third thing that Sasuke had figured out was that the reflections were simply reflections and nothing more. When Haku rushed towards him, Sasuke managed to see multiple blurs attack him. But he had figured out that it was simply a result of her speed. She didn't create clones, she was simply so fast that she left after images. The fourth thing was that Sasuke was beginning to catch up to her speed. Or rather than catching up to her speed, he was beginning to be able to see her movements and speed. He had awakened the Sharingan. Haku watched from the safety of her mirror as Sasuke looked right at her. She had noticed a change in his chakra immediately, and had used their few exchanges, if they could truly be called exchanges at all since Sasuke had yet to land a single blow on her, to see what had changed about him. Sasuke's eyes had turned from their onyx color to red. Within the red pupils lay tiny little dots of black, creating an outer circle with a bigger black circle within. Spinning around the black circle were a different number of tomo in each eye. One eye had only one tomo while the other one held two. Sasuke prepared himself. Haku launched herself forward once more. However, instead of engaging Sasuke in close-range combat with the Senbon in her hand, she sailed above him, throwing down a barrage of Senbon to the area below. To her shock, Sasuke channeled chakra to his feet, neatly dodging a couple of them but not all. A few of them entered his back, making him resemble a pin cushion even more. Sasuke snarled in pain but tried to retaliate, actually throwing a few shuriken towards the blur. They simply hit the mirror's surface and bounced off with a loud clang. This boy, Haku took out a few more Senbon. Not only is he dodging my Senbon at the last second, but he's slowly starting to see my movements. Sasuke took out a kunai and held it in reverse grip. He lowered his stance, wincing as the needles in his body moved with his muscles. He gritted his teeth and tried to ignore the pain, trying his best to keep his eyes on Haku's movements. I see, Haku muttered, her voice sounding as if multiple people were speaking at the same time. You too possess a bloodline limit. She crossed her arms in front of her, all of her reflections doing the same, both hands holding a Senbon. My name is Haku of the clan known as Yuki. Sasuke, the Uchiha clan progenitor, answered. Of the Uchiha clan. So that's the Sharingan. No wonder he can follow my movements. Haku began to gather chakra and saw Sasuke tense. I can't let this battle drag on any longer. I'll begin to run out of chakra and he'll begin to catch my movements. Haku narrowed her eyes behind her mask. I need to end this. Sasuke leaped away as Haku emerged from the mirror. The moment that Haku left the mirror, every reflection disappeared. Before Sasuke had awakened the Sharingan, he had been unable to see which mirror had been housing the real Haku. But now he was able to see her the instant that she escaped from her ice crystals thanks to his Kekai Genkai. Haku appeared behind him, while Sasuke was still blocking a few Senbon that were sailing towards him. Sasuke's eyes widened. She was actually able to outrun the speed of her Senbon. Sasuke felt a Senbon enter his back and the back of his thigh. He planted his feet and spun, slashing with his kunai in a wide arc. He saw a blur disappear. Haku appeared behind Sasuke once more. She got me. Sasuke, though he knew it was futile, flicked his hand, throwing the kunai in his hand sailing into the air upwards behind him. He tried to spin once more to catch up to Haku's movements when he couldn't feel his leg. He felt Senbon enter the back of his neck, torso, arms and his legs. Haku watched as Sasuke fell forward, the needles that were already stabbed into him from the front stabbing themselves deeper into his body. Sasuke gave one wheezing cough and stained the snow in front of him with blood. Haku saw his body jerk once as he tried to move his body. Haku ignored it, taking out a Senbon from her sleeve. I'm sorry. Haku closed her eyes, stealing her emotions and her heart. Has Sasuke managed? I guess you've been holding back on me, huh? He coughed, deepening the stain of red in front of him. Haku lurched forward, clutching the Senbon with both hands, aiming towards the back of the Uchiha's neck. Haku flew backwards, her mask shattered into pieces. She skidded along the ground, managing to gather chakra into her shoulder to avoid any critical damage. Haku grunted and pulled herself up to her feet, one arm holding the shoulder that she used to brunt the damage of her fall. The blonde, clad in different clothes than last time, stood over his teammate, one feet still lingering with trails of his black chakra that he had used to kick Haku in the face. Nice instinct, Naruto muttered, his eyes cold. You sensed that kick rather than see it, didn't you? Haku stepped backwards, planting one foot inside the mirror. You won't find me as easy to defeat as last time. She entered the mirror, her body being reflected through all the mirrors once more. Naruto's eyes glanced from left to right, surveying his surroundings. His hands began to leak trails of shadow, sending them wafting up into the air. Fast, Sasuke whispered as blood began to pool around his head. Should have, he coughed, sending a few spittle of blood onto the snow. Stayed outside, he finished feebly. Naruto looked down at the Uchiha, then frowned. His eyes, he noted. They're the same as Kakashi-sensei's. Are you done? Whispered a voice right behind him. Naruto reacted with immediate violence, spinning around with a single vicious kick, leaving an arc of blackness in the air. The foot connected solidly with the back of Haku's fist, which was clenching a Saban. Haku grunted under the impact, and felt her wrist strain underneath the kick's weight. With her other hand she stabbed sideways, attempting to stick it in Naruto's temple. Naruto held up the back of his own fist. Over his fist, a few centimeters away, was a flat, smoky-looking shield made of black chakra. The Senbon stabbed into it but stopped right before actually touching Naruto's skin. Fast, thought both shinobi at the same time. Naruto twisted his fist. To Haku's shock, she felt the Senbon being wrenched out of her grip. The blonde's black chakra acted like a physical substance. Her Senbon, having stabbed into it, spun with the shield of chakra. Using that moment of shock, Naruto opened his palm, locking grips with the Mist Ninja. He quickly bit the Senbon that his chakra had dragged near his face, letting it be held horizontally across his face. Naruto's other hand stabbed out with an index finger. With a sickening sound, his entire finger entered her shoulder. Haku's eyes widened. She spun so that she was lined with Naruto's shoulder to shoulder. But she already felt her arm, which had blocked Naruto's kick, go numb. He hit my pressure point at exactly the right position. Haku's thoughts were racing at almost the speed of light. The shock of having her own technique used against her and the fact that he had done it perfectly, even without a weapon, had sent her into mental shock. Even if he took my book, how did he decipher it? Not to mention he's only had it a week or two at most, this boy. Naruto skidded on the ground sideways so that he was face to face with the ninja once more. All your speed is useless, he nodded towards their locked grips. If I have you like this. She flicked the wrist of the hand of which they had locked grips. Two Senbon launched out of her sleeve, shocking the blonde. He turned his head sideways and spat the Senbon in his mouth and reached out with his other hand. His Senbon knocked one away, but his hand was too late in grabbing the other remaining Senbon. The Senbon entered the space between his arm and shoulder. Naruto's arm went limp, and so did his hand. Haku leaped away from him, entering one of the mirrors. Naruto's other hand immediately took out the Senbon with a sickening wrench. Then, to Haku's horror and shock, he pointed towards himself with his index finger, stabbing himself in the shoulder with the sound of skin entering skin. He shook both arms as if to get the numbness out. Impressive, Haku held the shoulder of her numb arm. Even I haven't mastered that aspect of the book yet. Not only does he know how to induce paralysis, thought Haku. He knows how to get rid of them. But I doubt he knows any other points to induce fake death or pain yet. Even if he can see them, the points of fake death and sleep are too difficult for him to hit. I don't have to worry about that yet. But paralyzing him will be useless since he knows how to counter it. Naruto didn't answer. Instead, he brought his left leg back, stabbing the ground with the tip of his toe. Black chakra began to leak out from that single point, almost engulfing the blonde in shadow. Haku saw his eyes. She shivered. His blue eyes had changed. It had turned light from the rich blue from before. It almost resembled the color of her ice mirrors. She watched as it began to grow lighter and lighter, stopping at a shade of blue right before it changed into white. It looked exactly like the Sharingan, except it had a blue pupil. Instead of the tomos, it had triangles made of a darker shade of blue spinning lazily while rotating at the same time. The blonde had two triangles in both eyes. Haku hesitated. They're not the Sharingan, but what are they? Naruto roared and kicked with his foot, leaving a long groove in the ground. When the kick finally escaped the ground, it became a blur. The only thing Haku saw was Naruto creating the semi-circle groove in the ground, then his feet blurring. The next thing she saw was Naruto standing on his right foot, his left leg straight and held sideways so that it covered his right shoulder. And the large arc of black chakra flying towards her. Haku unconsciously crossed her arms in front of her chest even though she was within the mirror. She closed her eyes instinctively as the black chakra wave washed over the mirror. She felt the mirror shake from inside from the pressure of the chakra explosion, but enforced it with her chakra, forcing it to hold its shape. Naruto watched as the shadow arc was washed away from the mirror, leaving it as it was before. I'm going to need to do a physical attack. Naruto tensed his legs. Are you an Uchiha as well? Haku asked, gathering chakra and trying to buy time to think up of a strategy. Naruto shook his head. No, he unconsciously held up a hand to his eyes. He saw things differently now. He knew that his eye had changed when his vision changed. He saw the flow of chakra in battle and within Haku's body. He saw Haku's chakra flow into her arms and her legs as it began to concentrate there. Naruto looked around him, seeing some fog-looking substances which he now knew as chakra. Some of them were the same color as Sasuke's chakra and others were the same color as Haku's chakra. He saw black chakra that was his own. But more importantly, he saw the points that had been outlined in the book. But not always. The points seemed to disappear and reappear depending on how Haku was standing and how she held herself. Sometimes there were more points on her body than before. Some points were large, some were small. The points also varied in color. The smallest points turned black, but when they turned big again they seemed to turn into a greenish color. He had read enough of the book to know that black points represented death. But the points were painfully small and almost always at a naturally vital spot. If he forced himself to press that point, he'd leave a huge opening of himself. He remembered what the color of the points meant from reading the book. Green points were points that would heal the person. Blue points resulted in numbness or paralysis of the muscle or chakra. Red points represented pain and damage. Yellow points represented sleep. He could see them all, though not at the same time. As stated, the points that were available switched each second depending on the minuscule movements of the opponent's body. Haku watched as the triangles in Naruto's eyes began to spin faster and faster, rotating faster and faster as well. They rotated so fast that they seemed to be circles instead of triangles, creating a ring around the center of his eye. Haku leaped out of her ice mirror. Naruto leaped back as Haku stabbed towards him with a fist, Saban held between her knuckles pointed outwards. He kicked backwards as Haku disappeared from his vision. Haku leaned back, allowing the tip of Naruto's heel, trailing black chakra, to pass by inches away from her chin. She punched upwards, attempting to sink the Saban into Naruto's shin, which was still in the air. Instead, Naruto extended his foot, allowing the tip of his toe to touch the top of Haku's head in a downwards kick. Haku reacted with deadly speed, skidding along the ground sideways, appearing in front of Naruto, her legs spread to either side and her torso low to the ground. Naruto's foot slammed into the ground, creating a large crater and shaking the ground. Haku placed the bottom of her fist on the ground to steady herself and swung her torso, swinging her useless arm towards Naruto's single leg which had been supporting him. Naruto brought his other leg up, bending it at the knee, and blocked the strike. However, Haku's speed combined with the fact that her arm was numb allowed her to crush through Naruto's chakra-enhanced guard into his other leg, sending Naruto toppling towards the side off of his legs. Naruto placed a palm on the ground, sending a small shockwave of black chakra from the impact. He kicked sideways with his leg, which for him was upwards. Haku leaped up into the air, dodging the kick. Naruto continued the momentum of the kick, flipping backwards and onto both feet, once more one palm on the ground. Haku landed on the ground a few feet away from Naruto and leaped backwards towards the safety of her mirrors once more. Naruto launched himself at the mirror, flipping forward and bringing his field down on the mirror. The mirror shattered to pieces. Haku exited the mirror right before it was shattered with surprising speed, sending a few barrage towards Naruto, who was in mid-air. Naruto arched his back as they entered a few spots in his back. The blonde landed on the ground and spun immediately, his feet skidding along the ground. Haku landed a few feet away, turning to face Naruto immediately, and skidded on the ground backwards, one of her arms still hanging down limply. Haku flicked her wrist, her sleeve pointed towards the blonde once more, sending a few Saban flying his way. Naruto batted them to the side with his palms trailing black chakra, turning to the side so that his shoulder faced Haku. Haku appeared right in front of him. Naruto was facing towards the right. Haku swung her limp arm again, using the numbness to her advantage to swing as fast as she could. Naruto leaned to his right, lifting his left leg up into the air, bent at the knee. Haku swung so hard that her limp arm had gone all the way to the left side of Naruto, the direction which the sole of his left foot was facing. I got her, thought Naruto. Naruto lurched back towards the left and with his left leg, hooked the bend of his knee on Haku's arm right before her shoulder. Continuing with his momentum, Naruto continued his spin and brought his right leg up, bent at the knee. He hit the back of Haku's head, hearing a satisfying crunch. Naruto landed on his left leg, his right leg still raised in the air, both of them bent at the knee. Haku was falling towards the ground face first. Naruto kicked with his right leg, straightening it, and placing the bottom of his right foot straight into Haku's chin, sending the kunoichi straight up into the air, her body completely straight. Naruto stood up, this time facing the left, and crossed his arms in front of him. He glanced with his eyes at Haku, who was airborne. Her whole body was riddled with points of red. Then with his right leg, with a tornado of black chakra that was spinning around it, he stomped the ground where Haku had been standing. A pillar of black chakra exploded out of the ground, perfectly round. Haku couldn't even scream as the tower of shadow engulfed her, and with it pain completely swallowed her mind. The black chakra seemed to be digging into her skin and exploding from the inside by reacting with her chakra. She arched her back and began to jerk sporadically before the technique finished its course, sending her towards the ground face first. Naruto raised his leg, right when Haku's head was at his eye level. Then he slammed his heel onto the back of the kunoichi's head, sending her falling even faster towards the ground. The crunching sound of her nose breaking was accompanied by the cacophony of all her ice mirrors shattering all at once. Haku landed on the ground, her clothing ripped and frayed in various places. Her vision shook, and when they focused they showed her skin. Although it had felt as if the black chakra had dug into her and exploded from the inside out, her skin only showed superficial damage, covered in cuts and burns. She groaned and tried to get up when her vision shook once more. Naruto turned around. Haku began to cry, filling the air with her sobs. "You did well," Naruto muttered. Haku looked up and saw the blonde's legs shaking with fatigue. "But the things we fight for are different." "How?" Haku screamed, allowing blood to spill out of her mouth. She coughed like Sasuke had moments before. "I fight to protect my precious person," Haku shuddered, gasping for breath. "How is that any different than you fighting for yours?" Naruto turned his head, giving her a gaze at his clear blue eyes. The triangles were rotating and spinning a bit slower now, giving her a full view of them. "I fight so that I may become Hokage," Naruto whispered. "So that I can change my village. I fight to protect all those who are weak." He narrowed his eyes. "I fight so that no one has to live the life that I had to live." He turned around once more and walked away, leaving Haku speechless. "I protect everyone in this world that is beaten, tortured and spat on just for the reason that they are different. I fight to protect my dreams of a fair and just world," continued Naruto as the mist began to clear. "You fight to protect the twisted dream of a twisted man. That is the difference between your dream and mine." "If you have time to cry," Naruto muttered, walking away, "consider what you yourself can do instead of relying on your master to change Kirigakure no Sato and putting all your hopes in him. Become Mizukage and change the village." "And if you want revenge," Naruto whispered, turning his head a fraction to give Haku the view to his eyes, "I'll be waiting." Haku felt tears stream down her cheeks as darkness began to creep in from the edge of her vision. "Zabuza-sen, I failed, I'm sorry." The last thing she heard before she lost consciousness was Naruto's footsteps steadily growing quieter. Kakashi wrenched his hand out of Zabuza's chest as his ninja dogs disappeared, accompanied by puffs of smoke. The one-eyed ninja looked down at the jounin. "Momochi Zabuza, this was truly a tough